Welcome to Lemoore City Council Chambers located at 429 C Street. This is the July 18th meeting. Please silence all electronic devices as a courtesy to those in attendance. If you could please stand for the invocation. I think Kimberly's here. I thought I saw her. Did I see her? Oh, yes.
Father God, we invite you into this meeting, Lord. We thank you, Father God, because we know that we can turn to you at any moment, Father God, and we know that you are present. You are our ever-present help in times of trouble. I ask you, Father God, that you would give our city council leaders wisdom as the things that are placed upon their shoulders are heavy and they have decisions to make. And I ask that you would be with the community, Father God, those that are just pillars of this community and those, Lord Jesus, that are working hard to make Lemoore great. I ask, Father God, that you would guide this community in the way that we should go and that we would never depart from you. We thank you, Lord, and we invite you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. You could remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Councilmember Garza,
Present.
Councilmember Lyons,
Here.
Councilmember Orth,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Gornick,
Here.
and Mayor Matthews.
Here.
Thank you.
Agenda approval, additions and or deletions.
Yes, Mayor, we have one addition to item 1-1 on the donations. So when we first started putting this together, we had donations from People's Farming to a few different local organizations. Since then, we've also had the Kiwanis Club, the Kings Lions and Lemoore Rotary also donated for the downtown music. And I erred to give that information to the city clerk, so it didn't make it on the agenda, but I want to make sure they get their recognition as well. Thank you.
Sir. Moving on to ceremonial presentations. 1-1.
All right, so we had a couple different things on tonight. The first one we'll start out with was we've been working the city and the downtown merchants group, business owners. Jesus Garcia is kind of the liaison between our downtown merchants and the city. And one of the things we keep coming up with is in downtowns that are viable and active, music is one of the very first things they tell you got to have in your downtowns. So the system we've had in the past is antiquated, old, wires have been cut. So we went out and basically we're going to restore music to downtown. And as part of that process, we went around, got a few donations. Jesus went out and talked to some of our local service clubs and we got donations for that. So that'll be the first one we present tonight. So if we could have People's representative from People's, the Kiwanis Club, Kings Lions and the Rotary come up to the podium, please. And you got all the certificates, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Have them all at one time.
Okay, so first I'd like to thank everybody for their generous donations. This project's coming in at about $20,000 in total for purchase and installation. It is a general fund type of purchase. So we went out and solicited donations, and I'm happy to say that between these groups, we've raised 8,000 of the 20 to go towards the music. So we'll be placing that on order and we'll have some music in downtown, hopefully by the end of the summer, as long as we can get all this stuff from the supply chain. So I know People's has a check to present to the city. So Ray, if Ray's back there, if you could accept that on our behalf, please. And yep, that check there is for 5,000 was for the downtown music, and then there's an additional 500 for the city's adoptive planner that's running out of Parks and Rec, and we have a few volunteers that have really been heading that up. So if we could get a picture with the People's group with the check, and then we'll get everybody up and we'll get the pictures, and I'll leave it up to the service clubs if you want to do them individually. The mayor does have letters of appreciation to give to all the organizations, so we can do preferably a group photo with everybody, and then we'll get the individual service clubs pictures with the mayor and council if you so choose. Council, you're gonna have to go take pictures. Yep. Who's? Any from King's Lions?
Yeah, anybody?
Okay, we'll get that one over to him.
Trying not to block the vehicle.
Maybe better.
All right. Okay. Okay, got it?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. One more time. Did any of the service clubs want an individual picture with council, or you get? You like one? Okay. I'm just a troublemaker. All right. Delon, you're not smiling, man. What's up?
Thank you.
We'll knock over here. Okay, next, here we go.
Well, as council finds their seats, would anybody from the service club organizations like to say anything at this time? Okay.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. Alex Walker, the Club Administration Director for the Rotary Club of Lemoore. We are very proud to be serving the community. On May, we actually turned 65 years old. It's been 65 years since we've been serving Lemoore, and we're very proud of that. And it's our opportunity to serve you and give this donation tonight. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other service clubs would they like to address the public or council at this time? Okay, if not, we'll continue on. Oh, sorry. Come on, Bob.
Good evening. On behalf of Kiwanis Club of Lemoore, we're pleased to give $1,000 donation to your project, and we look forward to hearing good music on D Street. Kiwanis Club's been in Lemoore for 81 years, so we've had a good relationship with the city, and we want to keep it the same way.
Nice.
Thanks.
Thank you.
What, your mic's not on.
Yeah, Jesus
Bob,
Garcia.
Bob Clement? Is it true you were 16 when you joined the club? Oh, okay.
Okay, yeah, Jesus Garcia from the Lemoore Rotary Club. I just actually want to thank Bob and the rest of the other clubs. I'm the one who just going around asking for money. So thank you. I really appreciate, your donation, your support. And so we can get probably our downtown and looking and
Good.
sound a little better. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So the next donation we'd like to recognize is for the Lemoore Sober Grad. As most of you know, the Lemoore High School puts on a sober grad, and then again this year for the second year in a row, People's Farming has contributed to that, so they'd like to present the check to Lemoore Sober Grad. And if the rep from Sober Grad's here, I believe it's Miss Cami Rodriguez, come on up. We get to do this all again. Just get up there. So Cammy, I don't know if you wanted to say anything. You do not have to say anything if you're not comfortable doing so. I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
Here, but I will say this is, I think this was our 35th or 36th year of having the party in Lemoore for all of the graduates. And since the generous gift that your group has given to Lemoore High, and it's not just Lemoore High, it's all the LUHSD schools. I'm nervous, my heart is beating fast. So it's Lemoore High, Jameson, West Hills Middle College High School, and the Lemoore Online Kids. We have not had to charge students any admission for the last several years. Kids have always had to buy their tickets. So this opened the party up to so many graduates who couldn't attend before. So thank you.
Yeah, and then the next presentation I have is Lemoore Little League. Do we have the rep from Lemoore Little League here? Kyle, kind of the same thing. Kyle, would you like to say anything or?
I wasn't really prepared to say anything, but I just want to thank People's Farming. We run thin out there, and every donation helps, and it helps kids play sports and just be in an environment where they can make friends and just have fun and learn life skills, not just in sports, but just in skills in general. So we just want to thank you guys, and we really appreciate the help.
Okay, thank you. Thanks. Would anybody from People's like to address council or the public?
Hello, council and public. Yeah, I just want to say, I came up here obviously on behalf of People's, to meet with a lot of people that we had been given to. And, after Nathan took me around yesterday and today, it's actually completely changed like the whole point of why I came up here. It really felt like we were going to be meeting people and kind of giving back to the community, which obviously we did do. But after this last 48 hours, it's been really incredible to meet so many of the people that we were giving to. But everyone that I spoke to really just opened my eyes to how giving Lemoore really is. Everyone I met, Frank, Frank, I went over to the Christian Aid, and then to see him now in this shirt, and he's also part of the police departments. Stu, we've spoken as well, and it's really just incredible to see how giving and how welcoming and how loving this community is, and all of the attention that's really aimed at giving back to the children. So I just want to almost the opposite, instead of us being thanked, really just thank Lemoore for welcoming me, for welcoming us. And yeah, we're here to stay, and it's really exciting to view this city now as our own. So thank you very much.
I'd like to thank everybody for the donations. The music donations really are going to come in handy. It's going to help. As you know, we passed the budget that was a deficit spend, so getting those donations really helps out get our downtown some music, because it was on the cusp of being pulled out of the budget before I even brought it to council for consideration. So we do appreciate it, and it was my pleasure to take you around and show you our town. All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone. Moving on to study session 2-2, potential zoning ordinance changes to encourage housing development. Mr. Brandt.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Steve Brandt, City Planner. This is a study session to go through some potential ordinance changes to the zoning ordinance and also to the zoning map and general plan map. The purpose is to encourage more housing development in the city. If you go to the next, or do I have the slide? No, you do it. So timeline where we have, the city applied for some grants from the state to do these studies, to not just update the zone ordinance, but also the subdivision ordinance. We developed vehicle miles travel standards, which you adopted at a previous meeting. Update our impact fees and assist with the housing element process that's being done in conjunction with the county and the other cities in Kings County. So we were awarded that grant and we kicked it off at the beginning of this year. We've had some study sessions already. The council had a study session in February that specifically focused on minimum lot size. We've had some planning commission study sessions, and now we're here in July, third council study session. Our plan is, if after hearing your feedback today, to finalize the proposal and then take it to planning commission for a public hearing in August, and then bring it back to you for final approval in September. So what I'd like today is any comments or ideas you have on changes that we can do before those hearings. We can make those in time and get them out as the formal proposal. So to just go through what we've got, go to the next slide. Yeah. So I've gone through these before. The challenges we have is the grants that do expire on September 30th. So we want to be done in September. We're in the middle of a housing element update. And so any changes we make, we can apply to that housing element update. That'll be helpful to us to show that we have a good supply of land for future housing development.
Can we ask questions now, or we gotta wait?
Do you want to entertain questions now, or would you like to wait till later?
If you want to talk about the challenges now, and then we can do that. Sure.
When did we receive the grant?
It was the end of last year.
So December.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and look. It came to council for approval of the grant, I believe, at the latter part of last year.
Yeah, and so Christy and I formally kicked it off in January.
All right.
This chart is it's what's called a regional housing needs assessment. So this is the numbers that the state has given us in Kings County of the amount of housing that they want us to develop over the next, I think it's 10 years. So you can see that there isn't a need for more housing. This is the numbers are divided up amongst the cities kind of based on existing population and ability to produce more housing. So we don't have the biggest allocation, Hanford does, but we have a decent allocation. And something to point out about that, the way the law works is we are only required to show that we have enough land available for housing. We don't actually have to force it to be built. That's up to the private sector mostly.
I just read this before coming tonight, but one of the things that concerns me is we really don't have a lot of input from the community in terms of what kind of housing we want. Because when I talk to individuals, I hear a lot about the smaller lots, the density of the areas, too many cars on the street, et cetera.
Mhm.
And yet we're taking our lead from somebody in Sacramento who's developed a map about what we should have.
They give us the numbers.
Yeah, I know.
We decide how
But the
to
issue you
accommodate.
just said, the issue is, as long as we show we have enough land,
Yes.
and we've brought in a lot more land this year. Okay. And I guess my focus is on, why don't we focus on the kind of quality housing we want, whether it's low income housing or whatever, as opposed to just letting these numbers drive us.
No, I mean, design standards is very important, and we do have some design standards in our code already about the quality of the home and what the home should look like, what multifamily housing should look like. So we have had those standards in place. I don't know if there's something specific, we could definitely
How about,
revisit it.
how about streetlights?
Requirement for streetlights, yes, that's in place.
Do they have to be, can they be solar lights? Do they have to be PG&E owned?
No, so right now, there is a standard for streetlights, and depending on the area, the intersections, the placement of them, the distance, the lumens they have to have. We currently don't have a standard for solar lights. We have the one in place we've been testing. So that is something that we're going to offer in the future if a developer should want to do some solar lights instead of a traditional have to dig and trench the lines. That's something they can do now. They just have, nobody's come to us and said, we want to do solar lighting, so we'll put it in. And if this council chooses to at some time, we could actually make that a requirement, I believe,
I think
or
that's what
highly
I'm saying.
recommend
Why
it.
would-
So
why
those
would
are
we do it
things
that
that we can do through our public work standards, which come to council for adoption, and they were just upgraded, I believe, last year. I'll double check the date, but they just came through for an upgrade and were voted in by council.
I mean, I guess, why aren't we even considering that, doing that now? That all new developments should have solar lighting, street lighting.
Well, I think as the city manager said, that's an engineering standard that we can choose to put in place if we want.
There's a lot of communities in California who are doing it, in Arizona, Nevada. I mean, we PG&E holds us up on a lot of projects.
Not arguing with you on that one.
So go to the next slide.
I had a real quick question on that last slide. You don't have
Yeah.
to bring it back, but
Yeah.
I know that our focus has been primarily on the low income housing. But I did notice on that slide that you just had that the greater need is actually the above moderate housing, which is not in
actually-
my
yeah.
income bracket, but is there, no developers are coming to us trying to develop any of those developments, correct, right now?
The Lacey Ranch project that was approved last year, that has a mix of single family housing types, and I would say I can't guess on the exact percentage, but a good amount of that would be considered above moderate housing.
Gotcha.
So
I think it's 17 lots. In that area,
Of the 500 lots,
yeah.
Not a
That's what I'm
lot.
saying.
so above moderate, the technical definition above moderate would be 120% above the median income level.
Gotcha.
So
I just noticed that for the first time, I think, because our focus has, because of all the state mandates coming down, our focus has been on the other end, and it just caught me by surprise. So
mhm.
just thought I would point that out.
So if we, let's take the property out that's being developed now by Lennar. By the college. So, Lennar and the same landowner have, that land. If they came to us now and said, we want to expand by another 500 homes, the same number. Why would we do that? Why couldn't we take the rest of that, where that project stops, to the commercial on 41? Why wouldn't we say that we want to put what the mayor suggested? We want that land to be developed for above moderate homes.
We usually don't require a specific income level.
Well, we're not requiring an income level. We're just telling the developer, this is what this is zoned for.
Yeah. And right now, our low density residential. You can, we'll talk about lot size in a minute, but
It's non-existent,
I'm not sure what you mean.
the low density.
We have it. The low density residential, that's most of the city is zoned low density residential.
Out there, what I'm saying.
A lot of it is,
That zone.
some of it is,
The east of the Lennar project,
some of it is, and some of it's regional commercial.
right? Okay. You don't know the percentages, do you?
Not exactly. We
Okay.
could pull up a map, but yeah. So what we're looking at tonight is amendments to the zoning map, text amendments to the zoning ordinance that would change some of our development standards. And then I'm going to talk about what's going to be in the subdivision ordinance changes, which the subdivision ordinance is mostly about process, how we process, what's the process for approving a subdivision map. And then as you recall, the VMT thresholds were adopted by the council on June the 6th. So this is our zoning map. The 4 areas that I'm going to talk about are marked there. And so what we looked at when we were looking at how can we make some changes that would encourage more housing is we focused on what's called the mixed use zone. The mixed use zone was put in place in 2012, and it allows both residential and commercial uses together. But there are a number of design standards that have to be complied with in order to develop it in a mixed use fashion. And we went back, and what we noticed is that there hasn't been any development in that zone since we put it into place. And so my experience as a planner is when that happens, that means that something's just not working with that zone and we need to make a change. And so we evaluated the sites that were zoned mixed use and came up with alternative zones that I'm going to show in the current map, in these following maps, to change some of the land to residential, and then also to keep some of it in commercial where it makes more sense for it to be commercial or office. Go to the next one. So this first one is there's a small area up on Hanford-Ramona Road east of Lemoore Avenue that's zone mixed use. So the 4 maps on the left are the general plan, and the 4 maps on the right is the zoning ordinance. They look very similar, but then the bottom left is the existing, and then to the right is proposed. So, and the purple is the mixed use zone. So you can see that this one is changing partly to office and partly to medium density residential. It's not a large area, but there are a couple vacant sites there. There's also a laundromat and a church there, and the new zones would still be allowed uses in those new zones. Go to the next one is along near Lemoore Avenue and Cinnamon Drive. There's 2 larger sites that are vacant. They've been zone mixed use for a long time. And so we're proposing to change those to the high density residential. That's where we'd be getting most of our additional housing capacity to put. It's in the center of the city. It's near downtown. It's near major shopping centers. And so it seemed like a appropriate place for higher density housing.
Do you know what size that lot is? The
Yeah.
big square one, right on the north side of
Let
Cinnamon?
me look here.
Where's the L-shaped lot that we're-
It's
It's gonna be around, it's gonna be a
Old
little over
Custodial.
10 acres. The two sites together are 21 acres.
21 acres. And then I'm gonna call it what looks like a pie shape.
Mhm.
Is there a way to get back there? Between the railroad tracks and the old,
There is a legal access. It'd have to be improved when the site's developed, but there is a legal access to get back there. The next site is north of the college. Portion of this, it's near the city's tank and well site. And so it's changed. You see from the left, it's got the mixed use purple, and the orange is medium density residential, the yellow is low density residential, and changing it just to medium and low density residential. And the last site is Bush and D Streets, the intersection there, the sites. It's partially developed. Some of the lots are developed, some of them aren't. We proposing to change some of the lots that are not developed and all the ones that are developed with commercial uses to neighborhood commercial. And then there's a high density residential site towards the west. And medium density residential along Daphne, on both sides of Daphne. For this site, we wanted to say we did send letters to all the property owners for all four of these maps by certified mail, just to make sure that they got notice of what we're proposing. We got calls back from 3 property owners in this map area. 2 of them were supportive of what we were proposing. One of them has an alternative proposal. I think he's here tonight. And would speak to that. And it's for the medium density residential site. He's wanting it instead to be neighborhood commercial. I think that could work if that's what the council wants to do. It would lower the amount of housing, obviously. And a third alternative would be to make it professional office, which is what we're proposing for the Advantage Health site, Fleet Reserve, and the swim lessons site.
Christian High School.
Could you go back to the one by the college, north of the college?
Yes.
Oh. Why wouldn't we develop? Or maybe it's already developed, but from College Avenue, the Bush Street, all the way to 41. We just have the front of it zoned. How about the rest of it?
No, so I
Bush Street?
believe it's regional commercial zoning. Hold on, yeah. it
Along
is zoned.
41 it is, yeah.
Everything between College Avenue and the freeway is zoned regional commercial. So if you look at this map, the top where he's got everything outlined in red that they want to change the zoning,
Right.
everything to the east of that, up to 19th and a half Avenue is zoned for regional commercial.
Yeah, and why are we doing that? I mean, that's, to me, that's prime residential land. Along the highway, I have no problem with commercial, okay?
Mhm.
But from continuing to use that land that Lennar has, from there up to where you want to designate regional commercial,
Mhm.
to me, that should be a whole project put together west of 41.
Okay.
In other words, I don't think, if I were a developer, I'd want to see what you're planning on the whole thing here, rather than piecemealing it. I'd rather see what's there and then I make a decision about which area I want to talk to you about, north of Bush or south and east of College.
Okay,
I mean, I've heard a number of developers when I was at the college say to me that the city looks like it doesn't know what to do with development, you know, and that was their opinion. I didn't know that to be the case or not, but my point is, if we've got an opportunity to zone this large parcel of land the way we would like to do it, to encourage low density or medium density or low income, however we want to kind of do it, this would be an opportunity for us to address some of that
I think that's what.
and make it more attractive for a developer to come in. That's all I'm saying. Because they're coming after rooftops.
Yes,
So, and if they should just see a blank space out there with, you know, regional commercial, well, what are we going to put, a mega mall there? I mean, with that size of land, I mean, you can't. You've got to come, sooner or later, we're going to have to adjust it to some type of
so
residential.
you wanted to reduce the amount of regional commercial.
Pardon me?
You want to reduce the amount of regional commercial that's not the undeveloped land.
That's my choice. I mean, that's what I would do. I would, the amount that the citizens of this community have invested west of 41 should be complemented by the designs that we make at that part of the city.
Okay, we can definitely look at that.
Now, you said, we're going back and forth, and I know that's probably hard. Back to the Bush Street, D Street interchange
Yes.
part, you guys sent out 3 letters
No,
to-
we sent out letters to all property owners where we're proposing a change.
for how far?
The people that are receiving.
I understand that.
changes.
Okay, just to the owners that own the property,
Yes,
not to the neighbors,
not to the neighbors. When we
Okay.
have the public hearings, we'll send
Owners, okay.
notices to the neighbors too.
huh?
When we have the public hearings, we'll
For the
send
neighbors,
notices of the
okay.
public hearings to the neighbors.
This is the public hearing.
Yeah,
This
So
is a
with the
study
study
session.
session.
Okay.
This is to flush out these kind of things. So as we go forward and we do the public hearing, have the direction and we know where we're headed.
If
But
I
is
may,
that, would you like us to look at reducing the regional commercial near, it'd be like near Bush and Bellhaven? And bring that as a potential change?
You know,
Yeah.
I don't have an issue with it, but I certainly would like you to reach out to the landowners who are working there now, Lennar and others, and say, get some input from them. You know, where would they like to invest in the kinds of.
I'd also like to
mix that we
request
want?
like low density, medium and high density. If you can kind of briefly explain that. I know I haven't been through this
Oh,
whole
sure.
process and
Sorry,
for myself and the public, I mean.
Yeah,
I have
there's-
No idea what that is.
we plan based on density because we can't tell exactly how many homes are gonna get built. So we say, well, low density is between 2 and I think it's 7 homes per acre.
Okay.
And then medium density is like 7 to 15. And high density is 15 to 29, I think it is. What it shakes out to in reality is the high density are usually apartment complexes.
Okay.
Medium density is maybe some smaller fourplexes, single story fourplexes, some single story multifamily, and then low density are single family subdivisions.
Got it. Thank you. And my next question with the zoning process, because you did talk about the mixed use properties that we had before and nobody came out to, we were getting developers, right? So were there any type of like, how would I say, scouting out there and recruiting anybody? And with the rezoning, do we have anybody that ready to build houses?
We talk to people all the time and we're looking at it. It's the housing industry right at this moment is kind of taking a little step back because of the interest rate hikes that have happened in the past year. So they're trying to regroup and they seem to be focusing more on the existing projects they already have going because they have to kind of reevaluate them now that there's a different interest rate out there. But I don't, and I'm only saying what I've seen, so I'm kind of like speculating now, is I'm not seeing them pull back the way they did in 2008, 2009, where they just shut down and weren't going to build any houses because of the recession. So what I see is they're finding ways to regroup and still construct homes.
And my question, the reason why I asked my question is, I mean, if we leave it at the mixed use and we don't have it being developed and we rezone it and it's still not being developed, what's the purpose of rezoning?
The purpose of the rezone is to try something different. It doesn't seem like this has been working. And also because we have the housing element coming up, we can then include that in our inventory to say, here's how much land we have available for housing.
Okay.
If we rezone these and there's a business that comes in that would like to develop on a property, but it's zoned residential, what's the process to change that?
To change it back?
Mhm.
They could apply for a general plan amendment and a rezone, and then we would evaluate that and give you a recommendation, and planning commission review it, and then you'd make the final decision if you wanted to change it back.
Gotcha. I'm just curious if any of these changes have been discussed with retail strategies. I know that they've been working on our behalf, and I don't know if any of these changes might affect any of the work they've done to this date.
Yeah, so the retail strategies they don't focus on the housing element, but they focus on like the neighborhood and the regional commercial. So I do know that very first piece of regional commercials, the old Walmart site, that's about 19 acres. I know there's discussions about some different restaurant chains potentially coming in there. They think that could be a good use for that ground, but nothing concrete. But yes, so they've looked at our zoning, they've done their city tours, they know what's available to go out and try to attract retailers. So that's what they've been working on. As we update our element, or if we make any change to this, then I'll have to let them know that it's either on or off the table, whether it's added or we need to take it away. We've had several businesses that are kind of waiting to see what kind of housing pops up on that west side.
Mhm.
We do have some businesses now that have come in recently that are in some of these affected areas with the gas station and the restaurant and the coffee shop and the cookie shop right there on the west side of the freeway. The other thing is I meet with the new base commander next week to kind of go over city. And one thing I want to talk to him about is, anytime we try to build housing west of the 41, we get this big push from the military. And so I want to make sure he's clear. And I would have to look, because we did a joint land use study in conjunction with the Department of Defense many years ago. And we had a bunch of different elements that we agreed to back then. I don't know if any of this land was set aside for regional commercial off the top of my head as a result of that JLU study. But that's something I can look at too and get back to council with. But I'm tired of having the argument every time we try to build a house, which is in our general plan of why we shouldn't build houses on the west side. Because we got a gem of a college out there. We need to build up around it.
The Navy signed off on everything on the west side. I saw them sign off on it. They might have their PR person say something, but you and I talked to the base commander
Mhm.
at the Memorial Day ceremony. He's interested in infrastructure. That's what he's interested in.
And bigger homes, so he can live here.
Well, yes, and the fact that they want their sailors to develop some equity.
100%.
They don't want to build any more homes on the base.
Mhm.
And and that was the trade-off, is nothing goes beyond the college in terms of residential
Correct.
work. Everything is in front. So, heard that song before. It ain't playing well.
Now, how much was this grant that we applied for and got roughly?
300 in total.
Was
There
that the one
were
that was,
two grants, and I think they totaled 300.
and this cost how much to do all this, to
Christie
rezone
says
all?
150,000, right?
The-
150,000 was the grant. For Christie.
Oh, 150 was grant, and then what, we put in 150?
And we had two different grants to do different elements and studies, and I believe both grants combined totaled about 300. This particular grant we're working on, I think, was around 160,000. I'd have to double check it.
And all these changes cost that much?
Plus the impact fee study that we're working on, the VMT study that you approved at the last meeting. There's money for housing element that we have a contribution we have to make to the county. There were a few other things that were in that grant. We're doing some things at the staff level to provide handouts to developers and homeowners to make it easier to get through the building permit process. So those are some things we're using grant money for. So it's a long list of things.
So we're gonna spend all the money.
I hope so.
Okay.
Or we give it back.
Well, no, I just, how much of it is, still we have to put up to do all this?
None. The grant's
None.
covering this
The
at
grant's
100%.
That's, okay, that's,
You know, we had a discussion about the, where the, low income housing, apartments coming in on, what is it? D Street? Yeah,
D and
off of D
Smith,
Street,
right.
Oleander,
Champion,
Oleander.
Oleander.
Yeah, you were going to talk about that, parcel of land between, where that property ends and the hotel.
So,
Mhm.
So have you, is that on here?
That's on,
Yeah, that was the very last.
Go back to the D Street
Section.
one, Marissa.
Okay.
it's right here, Frank,
Oh, okay,
right there.
okay.
Next one,
Forward, there,
And-
forward,
next one down.
Next one,
next one,
You want
there.
That
right
one.
there.
Okay,
So-
Daphne, okay.
So if you look on the far left one, you can see there's some orange. That's the existing, medium density residential, and then the purple is mixed use. In the property owner owns a number of parcels in that area, and so we talked with him, and he suggested we trade that medium density residential for the high density residential that's off of D Street, so that the D Street could be commercial. And so the high density residential would have access from Bush. That
Okay.
seemed to make sense. So in the end, it nets more housing. But it
Yeah.
also seems to make more sense to not have residential right there on next to
Right.
the hotel.
That makes sense. And along with that, Nathan, that street will be widened or we'll have curb and gutter on that whole frontage there from the hotel to all the way to the next corner.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not
When
yet.
they develop
When
it,
they
will.
develop it, they
Yeah,
will.
yeah, when they develop.
Yes, when they develop,
Yeah.
yes.
Any undeveloped site that doesn't have curb and gutter, when it develops, we require they put in curb and gutter.
And Steve, our general plan extends outside of our city limits.
Yes, general plan can stand there outside.
So do we have to okay that through the county or something like that, or no?
Which one?
The general plan? No, because they have a county general plan that covers it too. And so they follow their general plan and we follow ours.
Yeah,
And that's what annexations are.
I
for.
mean, am I wrong or am I right? Like, with the screen up here, the small triangle right below the D Street. And then
Yeah.
the one further right, because that's the canal, that's Lemoore Canal. Lemoore Canal is our city limit, right?
Yes, no, you're correct. So
Okay.
the maps on the left are the general plan, maps on the right is zoning. So zoning is only inside the city limits. General plan can be outside because we're planning for future
Gotcha.
annexations.
All right.
Okay,
My biggest concern about doing all this is tying not only our hands, tying other councils' hands into when a developer comes in and says, oh, that land is zoned X, we have to let them build there no matter what. We've already done that twice since I've been on council, and we've gotten a lot of pushback from our citizens that they don't want that. So I understand progress is something we have to do, but at what risk to our citizens? I just don't know if, and I understand if it's broke, we need to fix it. But I don't know if it's broke or if it's maybe not advertised correctly, or because I did call on some of the property around Daphne and D Street. And it's a little high priced for, people. I mean, for anybody to develop that. And I don't know if that's the owner trying to capitalize on something. I don't know him, but I did talk to the real estate person about it, and it's a little steep. So I just don't know if I I understand we have to fix what's broken maybe, but I just don't know if, I did some simple, quick math on one of those lots, the big square one on Cinnamon. If it's 21 acres and we could do medium, like you said, and we put 15 homes or apartments, that's what it is, per acre, it's 315 apartments in one block, and probably geographically the best location in our city to do a, medium density residential project.
Yeah.
To get 300, to take down that medium and low income, it doesn't take it away, but it makes it to where it's
Yeah.
looks a lot more attractive. So the state of California, how their hands are in our pockets, that's a different story, but
They're in our
It-
codes now too, so it's
yeah.
the state.
Well, I understand the
it's
laws.
state
I
that's
get all
pushing
that,
for
but
More,
at the end of the day,
or they're, what do they call it? They're pushing for less discretion, more standardized development standards.
yeah, but if you're right, but if we tell them, no, you can't do this, or if we tell them we're not going to rezone that because we have this piece of property and this piece of property that covers that, but in your own words, as long as we look like we're doing something, we're good.
Mhm.
Well, on that Cinnamon, all that stuff, if it goes to fruition to be, that's it. That's where we did it. We rezoned it, we did it. There's close to 400 apartments or, we could put there, which is the best place to put it because it's close to medical and it's all the stuff that we all know we have to hit. That's just my thought. And I'm not trying to sway anybody. I'm just thinking that, if we show the state we're trying and just not throw everything and change, everything, just go baby steps, I think it'd be better. Because we did get a lot of pushback from a apartment complex that we approved that was done, 15 years ago or longer, 10 years ago, that we bought. And our hands were tied. We had to do it no matter what, and I just want to try to pump our brakes and, let's try to make the fearless leader happy. And at least a manageable, to me, if one landowner doesn't like it, that's one landowner too many. My thought.
Well, to go along with Dave's point, on that last project that we approved, I was concerned about the fact that it was a 3-story. And I was corrected that we had 3 stories. We had approved the 3-story before.
Ladder. Oh, yeah.
But that 3-story is not on the street. That 3rd story is not on the street. That 3rd story is in the middle of the complex. So to the citizen looking at that complex, it looks like it's a gradual increase as opposed to looking at 3 stories. When you're coming down, the one on the same developer did the one on the 19th. They were 2 stories. That's an easy adjustment on the eyes, so to speak. And they had enough room for cars. But that's the kind of stuff that concerns me. And then if we squeeze in another 5 or 10 acre parcel with, we're creating I just don't think we're creating a nice livable community for everybody. I have no problem with who's living where and what. They just got to look good, and they shouldn't look like they're cramped in, and we shouldn't at 7 o'clock, when we're driving home, we shouldn't go into our neighborhoods and you can't even, you can't drive down the street, one lane down the street because you've got cars and the streets are too small and the garages are small and, I mean, we got to think about how people live when we develop these things. And I have no problem saying that. You guys shouldn't have any problem selling that to a developer. I mean,
We talk to developers all the time about things like that. They show us their market studies. They've talked to, because they're selling these.
well,
They're the
we
ones
could be a small
investing.
community then.
So
I mean,
what they're saying is we've got to find ways to bring down the price point because people can't afford homes.
Yeah, and
So
we're
what
not-
we're
we're
trying
not-
to do is say
but-
yes,
but-
but not at the expense
Yeah.
of poor design.
but we shouldn't accept the blame for the prices of the houses.
That they build
Part of that is our
Agreed.
legislature, not us.
and greed.
Oh, no, but
100%
I'm
agreed.
not on the legislature. I'm your planner.
Yeah, I hear.
I don't think you're just the person standing in front of us that has to answer the questions.
Yeah,
So please understand, I'm not
No, I
trying to
get-
beat
no, I
you
get
up.
it.
I'm just,
I get it.
between what we did on D Street, 115, 10, something like that apartments or.
108, I think.
Yeah. And if we did that one, which would be 300, not counting what Lacey Ranch has out there that we have some ideas.
Or the one by the high school. yeah.
Well, those are homes. I'm talking about
Yeah,
apartments
okay,
where,
Mhm.
we have apartments going out by Lacey Ranch, right? There's 100 of them out there, if not more. I mean, you do simple math. I'm not being mean or nothing. We're at 500-600 apartments for our sailors that need it.
Mhm.
I can't see of any other council or anybody in this Kings County doing 600 apartments in one fell swoop of a couple pins. Just saying. I mean, and if we do that one, just, I don't know.
This is a little off topic, but not. I would just suggest to my fellow council members, I said it last year and I'll say it again coming up this year for the annual conference. If you want to have a say in what goes on in Sacramento, I suggest that you apply for a policy committee to where your voice can actually be heard and not take it out on Mr. Brandt here.
Yeah, but it's funner to take it out on the super.
I was just gonna say
I
that.
tried.
So that's right.
I'm not trying to take it out on you. If
No, I
if
know.
anybody in this room thinks I'm beating up on Steve,
Hey,
I'm sorry. I'm not trying to.
The grant's paying for you to beat up on me.
I know. That's kind of why I'm doing it. It's free.
It's free. It's a free.
What
beat up.
I'm saying is our beef is not with our city planner, it's with.
No,
Sacramento,
and-
For sure.
No,
And
you're
and
right.
I get it, and I've heard your comments before. I'm not trying to diminish them by saying it that way, but that is the challenge in land use planning is balancing, what do you really want for your community versus what are people willing to build, versus what are people willing to buy, what can people afford to buy, how can we get more tax base in here? The quick answer is, well, we need more commercial, but do we need more people in order to attract the commercial?
Of course.
So,
yeah.
so it's a very, you have to synthesize a lot of ideas, which is kind of why I like planning, but
But
that's beside the point.
To your point, though, when the state, if the state looked at us and gave us an issue about, and I don't think they would, but because we're doing, but even things like solar streetlights, okay? We're telling the state, we're not relying on the grid to provide lighting in our communities, okay? I mean, those are the kinds of things that, to me, those are arrows in our quiver to say to them, back off, we're doing this, okay? We're saving, I don't know how many tons of carbon, but we're saving, okay? And that might be an incentive even for a developer.
No,
So that's all my
No, I
point is.
totally
in
think
terms
those
of-
should be looked at, and I work in several cities, and I don't know of another city that has a test program going for a solar light right now. We've got one going, so.
Oh, there-
Typically, right now, a street light last I talked to the developer, it's about $3,000 to buy a street light. It's about $3,000 to install it. That one solar light's about $9,500. So to go solar in a development, and I think we require them every 200 or 300 feet, I'd have to look at the standard. It's going to raise their cost on every light by about $3,500. So that's a cost that either the developer has to bear, or they're going to pass it on to the consumer. So somebody's got to pay for that voice that we want to send to Sacramento, and developers are going to develop in land areas where it makes sense. And you talked about the 2-story versus 3-story. The reason they went 3-story is because when you're doing affordable housing projects, you got to meet certain criterias to get the funding, and that project wouldn't pass the litmus test or the funding test at 2 stories. They had to get the density up, and the way to do that was by making it 3 stories, or else that whole project just dies and the ground sits there. So like Steve said, it's kind of a balancing act. And then there's also a cost factor to everything, because I've been looking, we do have a zoning for very low density residential. And I think the only housing we have is south of 198, west of 19th Avenue, the big homes out there. And those things are sold on the market before they even hit the market, because they're in such high demand. I don't see anything else where we're developing communities like that. The only one I know of is Loy Wedderburn's been trying to build it for years. He's got the 30 acres up along 17th Avenue, but he won't build it until we annex that into the city. And the goal for that was supposed to be 30 residential sites at 1 acre apiece. And they were going to be a high-end premium home. Swales, they wanted to use everybody's gray water and recycle to use for irrigation, do solar, but we can't get enough buy-in to annex over to 17th to bring that to fruition.
But we have maybe 150 acres over there, west of 41, that we have zoned commercial.
Right. And those big developers don't want to put 1 acre lots out there because they can't make the money on it. They're going to build what they can sell, versus the 1 acre lots over there. That's a private individual on his private land. He's not a big corporation. That's just somebody that has a vision, and this is what he wants to do and leave a legacy and leave something for his kids to be proud of. So the dynamics there are a little bit different. If there was a market, and there is a market for some large homes, because I know the base has asked for them, the college has asked for them. But when we say that, are we talking 15 homes, 20 homes? We're not talking 100 of them.
But we don't know unless
You
we
know?
ask. That's all my point is. We can't just sit here and say, well, so-and-so's got the only land we can get. We've got land out there. Why can't we make that more attractive to a developer?
So in the last 5 years, Steve, how many developers have come to us and said, we want to do all 15,000 acre lots?
Nobody.
There haven't been any in.
Yeah.
But on the
since the re-
contrary, they're
since
all
the
coming and trying to get
Since the
smaller
recession, the lot sizes have been down. Before, during the building boom, the mid 2000s, you saw a lot of like what you would call custom home subdivisions, where developer would subdivide the lots, build the streets, and then sell a vacant lot to a homeowner who would hire an architect to build a really nice house.
Right.
Haven't seen that happening anywhere.
Happened in Hanford. Daley built all those homes right off of 12th Avenue.
Solar.
Yeah, no, okay. Okay, I'll give you that. Daley is a semi-custom.
No,
He'll
43
design,
in
but it's the
Flint,
same,
43 in Flint,
but it's the
too.
same builder.
There you go.
But I was-
43 in Flint.
What I was talking about is a neighborhood where every home looks completely different because every home has a different architect, a different builder.
43 in Flint.
Okay,
You got Lincoln Lane here in Lemoore. Yeah,
what?
Lincoln Lane in Lemoore,
Well,
right here. It's about
why,
25, 30
why
years
could,
old.
what do we have?
No,
I know.
I'm saying since the recession, I haven't seen that
Yeah.
happening.
Now, I know the answer, but the people probably don't know the answer. To do 17th. I mean, I have personally talked to the business owners. You know, they want to go to 17th. I mean, I know we need what we need. I know we need the school or majority of those people that live on 17th. I mean, that would be something that would look good at. I mean, we could do that. I mean, why not? I mean, when the base commander tells me the chain in command, he has to drive an hour and a half to Clovis because there's no homes in this town that he wants to, that fits his family. I take a personal note to, let's try to fix that. And if we have Mr. Wedderburn that wants to spend millions of dollars in our community. And all we have to do is go out and ask the school, ultimately, right? Nathan, ask the school, Mother, may I? I think we need to go ask Mother, may I, and ask her the school. And if we can't, maybe we have a sit down meeting and find out why they don't want us to do it. And if they don't want us to do it, let's talk about it. Is it streets? Is it sidewalks? Is it sewer? We already give them water. We charge them a lot more than, to get the water. So that's, if we have an idea, instead of trying to change people where they don't want to do it, let's go to someone who wants to do it. I mean, if the business owner's right there on that corner of 17th and them want to do it, I think there's a couple other people, one guy in here shaking his head, yes, and we all know where he lives. So, I mean, and if Waterborne wants to do it, I scratching my head to see why we're not having that conversation. But we're worried about, in my opinion, tying hands of future councils to what the state wants to do and not what Lemoore wants to do. That's, I'm gonna get off that horse and stop beating it up. But that's what I would like to see. Just David Orr, I'd like to see that. Some things are good. I think that one downtown, I think that's a great idea. I think the access road going to that piece of pie may be difficult because of the business that was there before, digging up dirt. I'm sure that dirt's not probably good because of what was there. But worst things can happen.
Hey, Steve, going from the existing to the proposed, how long does it take? Like, if you wanted to change zoning, how long would it take the city? Give me the short answer, by the way.
To change the zoning?
Yeah. Could you get it done in 6 months? 4
Well,
months?
our plan is to bring these to you for decision in September.
2
Then you
months.
have a second reading 2 weeks later, and then they're effective 30 days after that.
Is that because of the grant?
Is that because,
Time?
well, yeah, the timeline is because of the grant.
So you can always extend grants and, we're gonna get it done in October, maybe. I mean, I don't. Just,
Well, I guess the question is, I mean, if there's additional analysis you want me to do, I need to know what it is. I don't want to delay it just and not know what to do during that month.
Okay.
Like if you need more analysis to make a decision, that's what this study session's for.
I'd sure like to see you take a look at the west side in terms of in terms of the comments you've heard here tonight from all of us about the types of homes.
Yeah, I don't think he's done with the study session yet, though.
No, I've got that written down to look at the regional commercial, and we can talk to that property owner and.
Yeah, I just shrink that a
Yeah.
little bit.
Okay. So this just shows the important numbers at the bottom. This just shows because whenever now, again, another state law, whenever we make any zone change, we can't reduce the amount of housing in the city, housing potential in the city. So this is showing that there's going to be that if we did all of these, it would be an increase. If we the one where there's a change potentially on Daphne, it would reduce that number to maybe about 170 instead of 232. Go to the next one. All right, so this is a change now going from the maps to our city standards for development. So we talked about this in February. We had one developer come. He's got a subdivision that's going to be going to the planning commission in a couple months. And then after that, come to you for very small lots. It's going to require a planned unit development.
They have wheels.
What's that?
No, just kidding.
So right now, the minimum lot size without needing a planned unit development, which is an extra approval, is 7,000 square feet. most, as we've talked about this before, most cities in the valley are now down to 6,000 or 5,000 square feet. Fresno's down to 4,000 square feet. So that's allowed to subdivide without additional discretion. And so what we're proposing and looking at that is to go to a 5,000 square foot standard. That's what Hanford has. That's what Visalia has. Tulare is looking at 4,500 later this year. So that's our proposal for your discussion. We looked at the minimum front yard setback. Right now it's 18 feet. We're proposing to bring it to 15 feet. And that's only for the livable space. The garage still needs to be 20 feet back so that you can park your car on your driveway. And then the 5 feet would, on the side yards, right now it says 5 feet per story. So a 2-story home has to have 10 feet. The thing is, we haven't really enforced that because every developer now is required to get a PUD. And so they, in their PUD application, they eliminate that requirement. So most homes built in the last 8 years have had 5-foot side yards, even the 2 stories. We did do one neighborhood with 4 feet and we don't like it. We're not going to recommend that again.
Thank you.
There's also, so the bottom shows the subdivisions that we've done in the last 7 years, which ones required a PUD under the current code and which ones, if we made these changes, which ones would still require a PUD and which ones would no longer require a PUD. So there are still some that would need a PUD, but some of the other ones that were approved would not need that extra cost put on them. We're also proposing some changes to site plan review process. Right now, there's a two levels of site plan review. There's major and minor site plan review. This is for developments. These are for commercial developments, multifamily housing developments. And site plan review is intended for us to look at the project and evaluate it against all of the development standards we have. So, and it's not just planning, it's not just engineering. We also send the site plans to the police department, fire department, solid waste. So everyone weighs in on the site plan to determine if it's going to work for their department. So the minor site plan reviews stay at the staff level. There's only staff level review. And then there's comments made to the developer. The major site plan review, it goes through the same process, and then those comments go to the planning commission, and the planning commission confirms that yes, that makes sense. That's what so they approve the site plan. What we're suggesting is to change everything to a staff level review. And then if the project still requires a conditional use permit or a zone change or a map, then that would still go to the planning commission. But if it's an allowed use and all it needs is a site plan review, then we would keep that at the staff level. That saves on costs for the developer and time savings. So we looked at the projects that we had in the last 7 years that went through site plan review. 10 were minor, and these are not including tentative maps. 10 were minor, 15 were major. 10 of the 15 projects would have been approved at the staff level, and 5 would have gone to planning commission if we had these changes in place during the last 7 years. So it would have saved some time and expense for 10 of the commercial projects. And I think I didn't on the slides, but I think in your staff report, I listed those projects specifically of which ones they were.
So Steve, when you say staff, how many people are you talking about?
Talk about the planning staff, engineering, fire, police, solid waste, parks. Yeah, we want input. We get input from every department.
Okay.
The process is managed by the planning department,
Okay.
which translated means Christie.
Right.
These are some changes, accessory dwelling units. The state likes to change the name all the time. You may have heard these in the past called second dwelling units. Some people call them granny flats, mother-in-law quarters. It's basically a second home on the lot, smaller home usually. The state has really pushed for these to be easier to get built. And so they've changed the laws. A lot of cities required conditional use permits for these in the past. The state has said, no, they have to be allowed uses. Cities, you have to approve them if they meet certain standards. And so we're changing our ordinance to match what the state law says. So there are still a number of standards to follow. This table kind of shows what standards you have to meet depending on what type of accessory dwelling unit is. So there's an accessory dwelling unit, which would include the cottage home program that Nathan is trying to start, which would have standard pre-approved building plans. So somebody that wants to build an accessory dwelling unit could come into the city and just pick a plan and the building permit can be issued. They don't have to hire an architect or get plans developed. There's a junior accessory dwelling unit, which is basically taking part of someone's home and converting it into a separate housing unit. So it needs to have its own kitchen and its own, if it doesn't have its own bathroom, it needs to have access to the other bathroom, obviously, but it needs to have its own kitchen. There's the tiny homes. There's some special requirements for those. And then the multi-generational housing, that's more of what you've seen. I think Lemoore does those types of homes where it's a separate unit inside the home, but it doesn't qualify as an accessory dwelling unit because it doesn't have its own kitchen. So we just have some standards for those. And you want to go through those fairly. I'm not going to go through each standard, but if you see something you want to ask about, I can talk about it. So it has the standards for what the building setbacks would be, what's maximum height, when is a kitchen required, when's a bathroom required. Go to the next one. We want them all to connect to water and sewer. And then when additional parking is required. And
When do these have to be incorporated, or do we have to adopt these by the state?
The way the state law is written, even if we don't adopt them, the state law overrides any codes that we have that are in conflict with state law, the state law overrides. So really, this is just us being customer friendly, having it in our own ordinance so that the people don't have to go find the codes in the state law.
Wow.
Some other zoning ordinance changes that are standards for the smaller homes is the tiny homes. If they've got wheels, they have to have skirting. We've talked about that SB 9 compliance before, which allows people to split lots even less than the minimum standard. We haven't had any requests for that. That's been in place for about 1.5 years. We have not had a definition of short-term rental unit, which is basically what people know as Airbnb or Verbo homes. We're putting that in the zoning ordinance, and then I think the city manager has some plans for that possibly in the future. But they're allowed right now, and I think we looked up Airbnb and Verbo. There's probably about 50 in the city right now, somewhere in there, 50 to 70. We made some modifications to the daycare requirements, which to keep in line with state law, and then we clarified, we didn't change it, but we clarified which staff decisions can be appealed to the planning commission, which is basically any staff decision. So even the site plan review standards, if they stay at staff level, if a developer doesn't like how we're interpreting the code, they can appeal that to the planning commission, and then the planning commission can be the third party arbiter about that.
And then they make the decision, the planning commission, or does it eventually go to us?
They would make the decision, and then if somebody still doesn't like the decision, they can appeal it to the council. Like I mentioned, we're also making some changes to the subdivision ordinance. It's mainly to clean it up. It hasn't been looked at in probably 15 years. So we're bringing it up into 21st century standards. We had our surveyors who actually review all the maps that come in for technical accuracy. And so they made some changes to the code that we'll bring to show you that basically make it, it keeps your standards strong for surveying property. And at the same time, it makes it easier for the surveyors that are having to make those maps understand what's required. So one of the things we're trying to do is cut down on resubmittals, because if we can get people, if we can approve all the technical projects in 2 submittals instead of 3, it saves everybody time and expense.
Could you go back to the chart that had the lot size and the dwellings and all that stuff? Yeah, well, I think it was, no. Right, I think right there, owner occupancy. So additional dwelling unit. So there's no requirements for owner occupancy.
That's correct.
Yeah. So if I have a couple of rental homes, okay, and I want to put an additional cottage home there, and I could do that.
And you could rent that one separately.
Yeah, I could put a couple if I got a big enough lot.
You can put one ADU and one JADU.
What a can of worms. What a can of worms. That's why everybody's got to vote. Damn, stupid. And your neighbor has nothing to say about it. I mean, if I'm, your neighbor has nothing to say about it. Okay.
I think that might have been the last slide, Marissa. Yep. Yeah.
What's the fire department?
Oh, wow. Sigh of relief from the audience.
Same.
So as we said at the beginning, this is a study session. So there's a chance to ask questions, chance for the public to say anything. I'm already writing things down. We'll keep writing down and
I have a couple more questions.
sure.
The 5-foot side yard, I know I'm in the minority, but I'm just gonna put it on record that I think that is dumb. If
What do you
my
mean,
neighbor's
5
gonna,
foot?
for the side yard, if my neighbor's
You
gonna
want
have.
more?
Yes,
Oh,
Okay.
okay, yeah, you were.
but this is also why I don't live in a new development, because
Mhm.
I like my space. But if my neighbor was gonna put a pool in and they can't get the equipment back there, that now inconveniences myself because the fence is gonna get taken down. Like, I just don't think that they take any of that stuff into consideration. I know I'm in the minority, but I just wanted to say it.
Yeah,
So
thanks, yeah,
that's done.
I don't
Um,
think you're in that much of a minority.
yeah, that's the same.
Also, when you were talking about the current businesses would be able to operate under the new ordinances for the ordinance changes, should those business owners decide to change their business, would that no longer? Because the business might change, like say, for example, and I'm just throwing something out there, the laundromat decides they want to get out of the laundry business, they want to do something else. It's no longer zoned for what it was originally. Are they able to start another business there or build another business there, or it goes with the current zoning?
It would go with whatever the current zoning is. So the laundromat right now is zone mixed use, which allows laundromats. Neighborhood commercial also allows laundromats. If they want to stay commercial, which I think they would because it's a commercial style building, the neighborhood commercial zone actually allows more commercial uses than mixed use does.
It's more flexible with
It's more
the
flexible.
commercial
If
zone.
you're only talking about commercial uses, there's more flexibility. Mixed use is meant to be a mix of commercial and residential.
I thought for some, I could be remembering wrong, because I couldn't pull it up on my laptop, but I thought that was changed to the residential, not that part.
Not that part.
Okay.
That part's neighborhood commercial. The church is going to medium density
Gotcha.
residential, which churches are allowed in residential.
Okay. And then my only other concern is, I understand the streamlining of, I understand how that's important. And how that's what we as a council kind of asked for when we wanted to make it easier for economic development. My only concern is the portion of the public input that would not necessarily be there anymore. So that's just a concern that I have. Just today at the Board of Supervisors meeting, there was some comments on, I don't even know if it's under the board's jurisdiction, but there were public comments that were made about a development that's potentially going in, and there was a business owner that came to speak out about it, and because the public wasn't notified, so that I just don't want to have anything like we've seen Hanford deal with here in our city. So
Sure.
anybody else from council have any comments?
Yeah, because I think that could happen in a handful of these changes. You could get a lot of pushback. Because the whole design, correct me if I'm wrong, or most of the design is why the state wants to do certain things is because they want it centrally located around, well, public transportation, shopping, and stuff like that. Some of these, what would be the high density? They're not close to shopping. I mean, they're close in general because our city is small, but not in close to what I would think the state would call us. It could be within the state standard, but it's just
Not geographically.
not geographically. Thank you. And that's my only, I mean, I truly believe there's 2 or 3 locations on this, which you guys have for the medium and high density density is right on. I think it's right on because it falls to what the state has told us. And what I've learned at League of Cities, what they want us, what they kind of want. The rest of it, I think, is just trying to, I don't know. I don't know why, so I don't want to speculate why, but I just, David doesn't, and so does the people that I've talked to in my community. And I just would like to look at going towards, I like the college idea. I mean, to me, the best thing I think would be to have apartments by the college. The kids can go there, they can stay there, they can rent, they can go across the street. I think that's a great idea. I think that's now, and I think it's better because of what we're developing on the north side of the railroad tracks. You're not gonna get, I think, certain, a lot of people don't want to buy houses, I think, that close to a cheese factory and that close to a fertilizer company. I mean, I think that's gonna be a hurdle that's a little bit easier for the apartments, not, I don't know, for the kids going to college. That's what I mean, not, that's just my little 2 cents. I don't want to
So you're
waste too
saying you
much
want
time.
higher, you don't maybe go from low density to medium density.
Probably medium.
In those next to the railroad.
Yeah, that little path, because it's so close to the college, I think it would be great for the
Mhm.
kids to have housing closer
Sure.
to the college, because then we can grow that college into something that I think most of us want or would like.
Okay.
But I'd also like to look at the 17th Avenue. Like I said, that's, I've been on council 2 years, almost 2 years, or right at 2 years, and that was something that I started
Yeah, I
off
think the-
doing that I
The
think. would be-
17th Avenue idea has been around for a while and I think it's been around longer than Nathan's been here.
Probably. It's just trying
'Cause
to
I
get it to,
remember working with people here that, I mean, we basically told them, hey, we can't annex you because there's land in between. And the way the annexation laws work, if they protest, the annexation dies.
that's the school.
And it's mainly the school. It's a few property owners besides the school, but it's mainly the school. Yeah.
Well, there's a property owner between the school and where we want to go in this room, and so I just want, we can go talk to the city or the school. And I know that's out of our preview, but if we need to sit down and talk to the school, I think we need to sit to the school and at least let the school tell us no. And then we can check that off the box and go to plan B. And I really would like to do that. And I can't force Nathan to do that by myself, but I would like that, to look into that.
Steve, on the development, the new development that's coming in, the low income, apartments. Did they ever come back with an elevator in those facilities?
No. I believe so.
See, to me, that's a kind of a quality issue that we should not overlook in agreeing with that. Is if we've got a low income unit and we've got people going up to the third floor. We need to have some kind of accommodation for that. And it's not just a handicap unit on the first floor. So.
Steve, thank you for, listen, I don't want your job. But thank you. I know
I don't wanna
what you
fight
do.
fires.
I know the amount of time and effort you put into it. I know you and Christy, I know you guys work hard at it. And I thank you and I think I applaud you. I'm not sure. But to you guys, I agree with everything you guys say, like what you were saying about the 5 foot setback on the side yards. I agree with that. But at the same time, I've also found out that I don't want to put my bias on someone else because there's a lot of people that like that 5 foot side yard thing. There's a lot of people that I mean, I've talked to this little bunch of Navy guys that are in the fire department and they love their houses short and small like that. They don't want to pay for this extra land. I want to live on a 1 acre lot in town, but they don't exist. And the ones that do exist, they're next to impossible. Like, just like you said, they sell before they sell. But at the same time, not everybody wants that. Almost nobody wants that. Just a few goofballs up here, I guess. But I also understand that we don't need to put our biases on other people, which is a hard thing to kind of swallow. And I get it, but I do agree with you guys. So I'm gonna put myself in the goofball category with you. And thank you, Steve and Christy. Thank you, guys.
But we should also leave it open.
Ish.
This doesn't leave it open. This says you can't do it. So we're actually pushing somebody else's.
Wait.
What you're doing is
Which one are you talking about?
You're shutting a window, but you're opening a door.
Which-
Yes, you are and you aren't.
Are you talking about the 5 foot?
Yeah.
No, it's a 5 foot minimum.
But yeah.
So
Minimum.
if you
So that
can
means
have
it's 10
wider,
Oh,
you
okay.
can go wider.
Okay.
It's the minimum.
Yeah.
Okay.
just like for the lot size, same thing.
It's a
We can stay
minimum.
with what we have.
Okay.
If the market wants all the lots to be
25
10,000
feet
square,
between them?
yeah,
Okay.
then that's what they'll build. They can build it. What we're trying, we put the parameters and then the market decides where. to
That
build.
makes sense.
I don't want your job. Yeah.
Mr. Garza, did you have a
I'll
comment?
stay with that.
Okay, so we'll open up to the public. Is there any public comment on the study session item? Oh, actually, Christy, did you want to say something? I forgot. I'm sorry.
I don't want her job either. or Steve's.
And you know, I don't usually get up here, so.
It's got to be important.
I just want to say that a lot of work, a lot of thought, a lot of understanding what each of you might want, a lot of understanding about what the community might want. I went to Hanford High School. I moved here when I was 17 years old, right out of high school. My son went to school here. I'm very invested. I have 5 grandkids that are going to grow up here. So I'm invested in this community, and the zoning ordinance changes that we're making are to streamline some things, not to take away from anyone, not to but to assist me, other staff, when people call and when developers call and they want to do something. It's already in our ordinance. We don't have to say, this is what our ordinance says, but the state says this, so here's the handbook, and I email on the handbook and say, but this is what we do because this is what the state says that we have to do. The subdivision things that are in there, and the handouts and the other items that we're making are to assist staff and to assist the developers, to assist the citizens that come in and want to know about what they can do with their fence. We're doing a lot of work behind the scenes. And I take it personal. I take your questions personal. In a negative way sometimes and in a positive way, but the community is always on our mind, and the map changes that we're requesting, not all of them we're not changing all of them to residential. I think if you look at them, like we have the southern portion of D Street on Bush. We had multiple conversations with Tony Oliveira, and we actually worked things out to what he wants to develop the property for. So we're not, I just want to let you know that like the laundromat, we're not taking away, there's the swim school. We're zoning those so that they accommodate what is actually there. And that way, if it does change, something can go in there and be the same type of business or be something that complements that building. So Steve put a lot of research, and at my come on, Steve, we've got to get this done because mixed use isn't developing. And the other thing is the regional commercial, to your point, you're asking us to bring you a zero deficit budget, but you're wanting to take away regional commercial from the most viable
No, I didn't say
portion of
take it
the
away.
city.
I didn't take it away.
You were asking to put
I said
residential there is the way that I understood it.
Well, in the very beginning of the planning for that corridor, there was always regional commercial. It makes a lot of sense to have it right along the highway. We all
And
know
it
that.
is.
And
And we're not changing that.
that's right. But 100 yards, 200 yards behind that, all the way up to the Lemoore project.
All that's residential, and
But
we're
it's not, it's,
and to tell you the truth, on the west side, we tried to clean that up. There's the one triangular, I guess you would call it, property is owned by one property owner. And
Yes.
it's like 5 different zones. So that's been a thorn. She's been trying to sell that forever. She
forever.
can't sell it. So, I take phone call after phone call. Nathan can attest that when he's in my office, it's like, oh, excuse me. I talk to developers, and I can tell you that since I've been in planning since 2015, I don't think I've ever, to my memory, and I'm getting older, but to my memory, I have not ever received a phone call from a developer that wanted to build larger lots. So I totally appreciate, because I could not, unlike you, I could not survive with even 10-foot side yards. I want a large lot. I want to get away from my neighbors, what have you. So I understand what you're saying. I would love to live in those houses out on Falon and all that. But the commander or what have you from the Naval Air Station, do you think that his wife and his kids really want to live in Lemoore when they can go to all the restaurants that they want to in Clovis and go to the good schools up there and all, you know what I mean? You say that he's driving an hour and a half, but he's only driving 45 minutes.
I appreciate your frustration, but
And I'm not trying to attack you. I'm just trying to,
I don't feel
trying to-
attacked.
I want you to understand that we're not, I guess my point is that we're not here just to try to increase the housing numbers. We're trying to bring development. You know, I listen to these people every day, the developers that call in. So we're trying to make things so that are viable so that someone can come in and develop them. But if I was here when we tried to annex in the 17th Avenue property the first time, and there were several property owners that were dead set against it. So like Steve said, if somebody's against it, if there's properties in between, it dies. And I know that it was more than just the school, but I just don't, I don't see, you know, and out by the 41, do you really think that people are going to want a large lot right there?
Well, you don't know unless you give them an opportunity. That's number one.
Okay.
And number two, you can't get significant development without rooftops. And,
Well,
all
I'll
we're
just,
saying is that in that state plan, there's a mix there that.
and he does have he has the multifamily there, and then behind on the, and that one property along, across from the college is actually has access problems as well. It's kind of it's going to be a challenge for whoever takes it on. They have to put a road in and everything. So it's going to be a challenge. But part of the reason that I wanted to get up here, and I'm sorry, I'm not upset or anything. I get passionate. So I apologize if I come across the wrong way. That's why I usually don't get up here. But I would like to invite anyone that I would really like for you to read what was in the staff report, the changes that we're going to make. And if there are certain sections that you're uncomfortable with, circle them, email them to me, Nathan. Come into the office and talk to us about it so we can get it all worked out, because the grant can't be extended. It's already been extended once. And we've been working on this for a long time. It actually was extended in December, and we've had it longer than that. It's been a long time coming that we've been working on this. So if we don't get this done by September, it will all be of waste.
The only other question I have, since you brought it up, is how does this affect the relationship between the planning commission and the council with these changes that you've made?
I don't think it does anything between the relationship between the planning commission and the council. Thank you for.
Most of the
Thank
planning
you.
commission.
Thank
didn't
you
know-
very much.
Most of the planning commission didn't know this was going to happen.
What?
They
We've had
received the
three,
same
we've
presentation.
had this presentation 3 times at the planning commission. When we had it in, I think the first slide that I showed the timeline, it showed 3 planning commission study sessions in 3 different months. So the question about relationship between the council and the planning commission, the change to the PUDs, because PUDs have to come to council as well as planning commission. So if that change was approved, a tentative map would more often stop at the planning commission level, and it would not keep going to council. So that's really the only change between planning commission and council. I think one of the things I would say, because I mean, I've been doing planning for many years and times are changing, and it's because of some of the things the state's doing. It's also just because times change. There's less emphasis on telling a developer to show us what you want to do, and then we'll tell you if we like it, and more emphasis on here's what we want, and if you do this, staff will approve it. And so it's a different way of doing development review. So you do have, you have full control over your development standards in your city. If you want to have solar streetlights, you change the code and require solar streetlights. But you're doing that ahead of development. The difference is and I think this is where I think this helps us, because what we hear is that we want to be developer friendly, we want to be customer friendly, business friendly. We've got to be more nimble than Hanford in order to get the development here. To say, and I'll use the streetlight example, if a development project gets approved and they're out there building, and then the city comes along and says, oh yeah, let's put in solar lights instead, well, it's too late. And so the idea of having the standards in place ahead of time, and then if the project meets the standard, the staff approves it, they can keep going and they can build it. Instead of like, well, we need to go to planning commission, we need to go to council. So what I would recommend to you is as your role is maybe changing a little bit, is you've got to focus more on when we come to you and say, hey, we want to change the standard, is say, okay, well, if I like it, then I know, then it's like you're giving us delegation to move forward and work with developers on our own. So when engineering comes to you with development standard changes, you look at those and go, hey, if I like them, that means I know the staff's going to require projects to meet these standards.
Any public comment?
And
Sorry.
Christy and I make a good team. She's the passionate one. I'm the one that knows stuff from outside the city. So, yeah.
Good session. Good
Yeah,
session.
you ought to make her talk more.
I'll try.
Any public comment? Mr. Walker?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you. Alex Walker speaking. I wanted to emphasize that there are valid concerns and just the importance of public feedback and community engagement. Really appreciate everything that the council on the dais had shared with us tonight. And I really do believe that these changes will overall will create consistency with zoning while also preserving the quality of our homes. In previous council meetings, I talked about how the average lot size for single family housing was just over 2,000 square feet nationwide and throughout the state of California. And I really do think having 5,000 square feet is preserving the quality of life and the standard that we have in our town, while also not going too far in the other direction that other people have voiced opposition to, and also creating equitable access for all residents to participate in our economy and our community. And there's a genuine need in our community for affordable housing. And not only will these changes, I think, help promote that, but also it will attract development. Developers have shown in other meetings that they are building below the existing lot size and they want to build an existing lot size. And not only that, but it helps us meet housing needs for a variety of sizes, for not just homes, but also for families. And it also allows for personal choice when buying a home. And it's also kind of similar to other neighboring communities. I believe there are ways to address concerns previously voiced, such as parking and traffic concerns, without jeopardizing our community's housing needs and goals, such as increasing the street length, having parking spaces, et cetera, as previously discussed. And nothing's perfect. There are definitely changes that I would like to see with the current proposal, but overall, I do think it's a positive. And I did want to echo, I believe it was Councilmember Gornick who mentioned a 3-story building. I was frustrated to hear that there was no elevator when we were led to believe there was an elevator, not only for ADA compliance, but also so people have convenience in their homes. But overall, like I said, I believe that this is going to be a positive for our community, helping us build a resilient economy and also attracting economic development. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Christopher Bright, good evening, Madam Mayor, council members. First, I'd like to point out that I believe the question about the rezoning timeline from Councilmember Lyons was more directed at if this gets approved as it's being stated, if someone comes in and goes, I would really like to build here, but it's zoned for X and I want to build Y. How long is that timeline to change X to Y? So I would like to know that as well. It keeps coming up about the base not wanting stuff built over on the 41. I was here 10 years ago when the base tried to crush the Walmart coming in, and it comes down to the FAA airspace. It's not the land use that the base cares about. It's the fact that when you get close to the 41, that's the approach and departure for the base's runway, as well as the military operations area Charlie on the FAA maps that allows them to do a lot of their practicing here. And that does go over Lemoore, but they try to keep their jets not as noisy when they're over the city. So that's kind of their reason. I'm not speaking on their behalf, just what I was told a decade ago when that came around. Another thing that was mentioned was that when we change the zoning, we can't make the housing number less. So if we approve this with the couple places that are high density housing, if those want to change, that would lower our number. So would we actually be potentially putting ourselves in a pigeonhole if we need to rezone those again some other time if nothing gets built there? And then the 5-foot sides keep coming up. Developers have been able to get a PUD for 2-story. But what about if someone's got a 100-some-odd-year-old house here that needs to be rebuilt because the piers are crumbling and they want to put a 2-story unit in? How difficult is it going to be for them to get a PUD? I'm honestly curious. I'm in that. I have a 100-plus-year-old house that needs to do something. And so I'm kind of interested in some of these answers. The laundry was actually changed to public office zoning, according to that. And for ADA compliance, you can have up to 4 floors with no elevator. You can actually have a 5th as long as the entrance to the 4th floor or the entrance to the 5th floor is on the 4th floor and it's a 2-story inside unit. And the SB9 splitting the lots, that's going to be more for the traditional residents that you'll find on Magnolia, Oleander, and some of those older houses. Nobody's done it yet, but like I said, all those houses are getting about 100 years old. Thank you for your time. Just some food for thought.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening and thank you for listening to my comments. You know, our area of concern is a very small part of your these decisions. I understand your housing needs, I understand your state needs. This is a very complicated issue.
What was your name, sir?
Oh, I'm sorry. Jim Crisp. I'm representing the 2 properties off of Daphne. That would be just to the north of the old cotton mill. We own the 3.5 and the 1.9 acres.
Gotcha.
So you guys, you know, number one, myself and the realtor are happy this is being changed. It's been very difficult to market under mixed use. No one wants to do it. You have it designated as medium density residential, which we don't think will work. These are very small lots. It's not going to contribute a lot to your housing needs. Everything else has been designated neighborhood commercial. We think that makes the most sense. As you know, Daphne Street is paved, planned to go across the railroad tracks that would tie into Hanford Armada Road.
No, it won't.
Okay, well, that's what I know of. So
You're correct. The streets are stubbed to go there, but
yeah,
the chances of that ever come to fruition are very minimal. Which is why
Understand
it's
that.
important to annex out to 17th. Then we can run roads east to 17th and get more access.
well, there you go. It make the same tie. So, you know, we think that improving the support of the existing housing with neighborhood commercial would in fact help you develop more housing in that area. I know I've spoke to a couple of you. I've spoke to Tony Oliveira. He is on record in support of our suggested change for those 2 parcels. And like I said, I want to keep this short because I know you guys have a lot to think about and appreciate you letting me give you my 2.5 cents.
Thank you, sir.
Do you have a business card
Not with me, no, but I will send my information.
to Nathan?
I've got it.
Okay.
Anyone else in the room have public comment? I'm sorry, on the study session. Sorry. We'll go ahead and go to the online comment. You having difficulty? What was the name? Cynthia, did you have public comment for this portion?
I do, texting right now.
Sorry for the delay, but I think if she has some comments, it would, I personally would like to hear what she has to say. So if
Yeah,
you guys don't mind hanging on.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, great. Hi, Cynthia Chavarria Baruch. I am the Community Plans and Liaison Officer for Naval Air Station Lemoore. I just have a question. Earlier when you were addressing the zoning amendment map for North College, there was a recommendation for a change to the proposed zoning. I didn't quite get that. Can the council member that made that recommendation clarify what the change would be?
I believe that was you, Mr. Ward.
No,
Was
it was college.
Was that where we wanted to talk about maybe taking that regional commercial that's further off the freeway and turn into
Make it less.
residential?
Yeah.
Is that what she's?
Yeah.
So.
Keep it there, but make it less. Yeah.
Yeah, Cynthia, so right now we currently have from basically College Avenue east to 41, we have a very large section of regional commercial zoning. One of the recommendations was we should potentially look at shrinking the amount of regional commercial and adding housing.
Less dense housing.
Less dense, less density housing. So did that answer your question?
Or were you referring to what Councilmember Orth had said about having apartments along the railroad tracks? Did we lose you? It sounds like it's just informational, so maybe we could go ahead and get that information to her and then go ahead and move on. No other comments or anything from council? Right, I hope not, but I'm just putting it out there. Okay, so we will move on to regular public comment for the regular session. I have Benjamin, Mr. Benjamin.
Wait, so just.
I talk really loud, so I kind of, okay, I have to like pace myself up here. So Benjamin Kaikina, good evening, honorable members of Lemoore City Council, Madam Mayor, city staff.
Ben,
yes.
Ben, I'm sorry. I'm gonna cut you off real
You're fine.
quick. So I know Christie had made a request that council maybe go back and look and email it to me or herself. So is that kind of where we're gonna leave this study session at? Is there any recommendations you want us to, council as a whole wants to give us at this moment, or do we want to wait for more communication? Want me to reach out to you individually to have this conversation with planning staff? How do you guys want to move forward from this study session? I guess is my question.
I guess I'd ask Steve. Steve, what do you think with respect to the comments we made about west of 41? What did you?
We can look at the area west 41. We'll probably need to talk to the base too, see get their input so that we're. So you don't hear it for the first time at the hearing.
With the jets flying over.
Exactly. I don't want to do that again.
I would like,
So-
Howie,
Could I get consensus for what Mr. Gornick is asking for them to move forward with that?
We're just asking for reduction of the commercial and
Mhm.
add more low density housing or whatever.
Can you split zoning on the same parcel? Or
Yes.
that you
You
can?
can.
Sure.
It's not on smaller parcels, it gets cumbersome, but on a large parcel, yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
So we have Mr. Gornick in favor of
I'd like to look at it.
Everything you said.
I'd like to look at it.
Mr. Orth,
Yes.
Mr.
Garcia.
Lyons, Mr. Garcia, and I'm gonna stay with that one. I'm a no. Garza, it's the shirt. You should have wore a Lemoore shirt. Sorry. You don't wear the right shirt, you don't get the right name.
Oh.
Just kidding. I'm a no for that, but you got consensus, so.
Okay, we'll bring it. Okay,
Well, I'd like to add, I would like to look at, since we do have the landowner of that piece of property off of Daphne, I would like to listen to that, because I too agree, and so do all the neighbors that I've talked to in that same area. That is my district, so my fight.
we can, Chris and I will. commit to-
I agree.
we'll Commit to meet with him before we take this to planning commission.
Because most of the people I talked to over the weekend, after talking about this, they do not want that. They would rather the, what's it called? Neighborhood commercial.
Okay.
That's what most of them in that area
Other
wanted.
people on Daphne,
Excuse me?
the people like
Yes.
to the north.
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
Now, 17th? Can we look at 17th? Nathan?
Mhm.
I can't tell.
Yeah, I already.
I can't tell one
emailed
person
it.
what
I've
to do,
texted
but I-
the school and the property owner since we've been in this meeting to try to arrange meetings already. So
I
that's already on the list.
Yeah, because I know some of the people out there, they're misguided, like they're under wrong pretenses.
100%. I've talked to 2 or 3
So bye.
on top of them. There's a path.
There's a lot of them that they're afraid of. If they become within the city limits, they're gonna have to get rid of their animals.
No, there's a path.
And I know that's just an assumption. And I know that there are grandfather additions or whatever, and once it changes hands, okay, it changes.
And with an annexation, there's a little bit of room for negotiation.
There is, but
Because
that's what I'm saying.
what
is
you're
they're
doing is
under-
you're bringing somebody from county zoning
Yeah.
to city zoning. And if they're doing something that was allowed in the county and then by zoning, if they come into the city and say, well, now it's not allowed. You can make an adjustment in the annexation process to say, well, we're going to consider that legal as long as you're there or something like that.
Just like the laundromat, same concept as the laundromat.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I would, once I explained
called-
that to 2 or 3 people, or 4 or 5, they were like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, that makes sense.
Do you need more consensus?
The
for this?
phrase, the planning
Says
phrase, sorry,
Thumb up.
the planning phrase,
You good, Frank?
the
Good.
planning phrase for that is called legal non-conforming. So it doesn't conform, but you're still considering it legal.
Sounds like an oxymoron.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You good with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Consensus for that as well.
Yep.
We did them thumbs up.
Okay, I've got West Hills College zoning to look at that, and then I've got 17th Avenue annexation to look at that. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay,
Good job,
let's
Steve.
put the study session to rest. Yeah. Let me just read real quickly. Public comment will be in accordance with the attached policy. This time is reserved for members of the audience to address city council on items of interest that are not on the agenda and are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council. It is recommended that speakers limit their comments to 3 minutes each, and it is requested that no comments be made during this period on items on the agenda. The council is prohibited by law from taking any action on matters discussed and are not that are not on the agenda. Prior to addressing the council, any handouts for council will be provided to the city clerk for distribution to the council and appropriate staff. Public will have an opportunity to comment on items on the agenda once the item has been called and the mayor opens the item to the public. Mr. Benjamin.
Good evening again, honorable council members and city staff. I wanted to formally attend this council meeting and share that after a dedicated 2 years, we have successfully achieved our goal on June 26th of 2023. And I stand before you today as the CEO of the reestablished Lemoore Chamber of Commerce. And I'm here to share some more great news about the community. So I'm thrilled to announce that we'll be launching our We Want You Back campaign. It's a heartfelt initiative aimed at renewing partnerships with former chamber members. This campaign underlines our unwavering commitment to uplifting economic development within the community of Lemoore. Furthermore, we are actively engaging all current businesses within the city to identify their needs and goals and ensuring that we provide the support that they deserve. With immense pride, I also reveal that we have the distinct honor of coordinating the 28th annual Jack Stone Salute to Agriculture this fall. Just yesterday evening on July 17th, 2023, we had the privilege of meeting with former recipients and esteemed committee members. Together, we deliberated on many deserving individuals and organizations who have made remarkable contributions to our agricultural community. In the coming weeks, we will share more information about these esteemed honorees. Additionally, as the co-chair of the Kings County Tobacco Control Coalition, I am in support of the work of the following speakers in their advocacy for a smoke-free public recreation and non-recreational spaces. I want to express my gratitude for each of you, your time, and the opportunity to serve the remarkable community of Lemoore. This is the most important thing, in my opinion, but it is through collaboration, dedication, and shared vision that we can continue to build a prosperous future for our city. And I want to thank you again for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Benjamin.
Thanks, Ben.
Yeah.
What is your
Hello,
name, ma'am?
my name is Tony Barnes.
Okay.
I am a mentor with Lily of the Valley Church. We have a program called Life of Victory Youth Outreach Undeterred. It is a program that advocates for youth sobriety and substance-free living, which includes tobacco and alcohol. In November of 2022, our youth had the opportunity to go to several parks in the city of Lemoore, where they collected several tobacco products along with alcohol products and illicit drug paraphernalia as well. And they were discarded in our park and specifically in our playground areas in our parks. We are here in support with California Health Collaborative's Kings County Tobacco Coalition as they push for a policy of change for the safety of our parks and our children. I'm passionate when it comes to our youth of the program, but I'm not just standing here for the youth of our program, I'm also standing here for the youth of our community. Our youth have been targeted by tobacco companies. They have also been affected health-wise by the use of tobacco products in public areas, by either affecting their asthma or also maybe being exposed to the toxic chemicals through secondhand smoke. We are here asking for your support today to help us ensure that our community and our children remain safe and healthy. And so we're asking that you make it possible for our kids to remain smoke-free. And we do that by keeping our outdoor recreation and non-recreation public areas smoke-free. Today I have a policy packet that Kings Tobacco Coalition has provided for you all, and I'm asking for permission to be able to give that to you all today. Yes, okay. And thank you very much for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are one of you Samaya? Okay.
Hold on, let me my name is Samaya McAllister, and this is Benaya Villanueva. And we live.
Could you adjust the microphone more closer to your mouth so we could hear you? You're very soft spoken.
Okay. My name is Samaya McAllister, and this is Benaya Villanueva. We live in Lemoore, and we are program mentees with Lily of the Valley Church Life of Victory Youth Outreach Undeterred. And we are here with
the California Health Collaborative King's Tobacco Coalition. I'm here to advocate for myself and youth in the community. I have quite a few family members and friends who have asthma and are affected by the second-hand smoke in public places like parks. So I'm here today to advocate for smoke-free outdoor recs and non-rec public places. And this is what we collected at the public park, at the public parks in November of 2022.
Could you speak into the mic so we can all hear that?
This is what we collected in the parks in November of 2022.
Was that one park or multiple parks?
2 parks.
2 parks.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
great.
Is this you? Okay, I couldn't, I'm sorry, I can't read the name.
She can still go.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, you can still go.
You can
You
go
can
ahead. I
still
was just
speak.
trying to make
Yeah.
sure that I got to everybody.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Arissa Garcia. I'm 19. I go to GCU in Arizona and I live in California. I live in Hanford. I travel between Hanford and Lemoore almost every day. I volunteer with Love You as well. I grew up with my grandfather smoking and I had asthma when I was younger. And being around smoke made it worse. It would always make me cough and make me feel lightheaded a lot. Same now, like being around smoke, it's still the same way. We ask for your support on making the parks a better and safer place for everyone who does go to a park. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Nure Cavett and I go to Lemoore High. I'm 16 and I work with the Lily of the Valley Church of Victory Youth Outreach Group. And I'm here as a volunteer with the California Health Collaborative King's Tobacco oh my God, sorry guys.
Take your time.
Yeah, that word, coalition. Firstly, I want to thank you for your time and thank you for listening today. And I'm here to advocate for me and my fellow youth and people who might also struggle with asthma. Seeing as when I was younger, me and my little brothers could never really play in public parks because there was so much secondhand smoke around. And this is why it's important for me being here today and saying what I'm saying for future kids of Kings County to be able to play in smoke-free parks. And yeah, thank you for
Thank
your
you.
time.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Did you speak already? Okay, I'm just making sure. Okay,
Nothing new.
It's called community engagement. Hello, council members. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. First, I want to recognize the youth for speaking. I want to give them a big hand for using their voice, their advocacy. And I also do support smoke-free parks and public areas. On behalf of the Lemoore Rotary Club, I want to invite you to save the date for our next year's crab feed. This year's crab feed. It's going to be on Saturday, November 4th. It's the place to be. It allows us to do community projects that you guys saw firsthand tonight, such as helping our downtown be revitalized, giving every third grader in our community a dictionary, as well as a variety of other projects you've all heard me say many, many times before. But I just really want to encourage you to attend this year's craft feed. It's really important so we can continue to serve the community. It's a wonderful way to celebrate 65 years of service, from water projects to the skate park, to the dictionaries, to many, many others. And we're looking at new ways to serve the community. If you have any feedback, we'd love to receive it. This year is going to be bigger. It's going to be better, and we're going to have amazing food. So please mark your calendars for Saturday, November 4th. Thank you.
thank you, sir.
Good evening. I'm still Christopher Wright, council members, Madam Mayor. I just want to point out that smoking is already banned in state parks and coastal beaches. So I'm with these young folks saying, why not make it applicable to our parks in the city as well? No reason for children to have to be around that. There's already enough with, valley fever and other stuff that we got naturally. Don't need to add other people's having, a vice to their suffering while they're just trying to be kids. Anyway, thanks for coming up and speaking, everybody. Especially the one that was stumbling over coalition. That's a super hard word. Everyone's got words that they don't. My wife specifically does not say certain words because she has issues with them. Thanks for coming up and giving it dog back.
Any other public comment? Seeing none, we'll move on to department and city manager report.
Not trying to.
You guys don't want to stay for the fun stuff?
They saw enough already.
Yeah. Thank you guys for coming.
Yeah, you guys ought to go to the park right now. The fire department's over there having a oh, it's done? They're already done? Geez, Steve.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm just kidding.
So good evening, Mayor and council members. Just, I guess the biggest thing to report out is we went live on AP and payroll and stuff with the new Tyler Tech system at the end of this year. So we did have our first successful payroll in the new system and still cleaning up some small bugs, but so far that first phase of implementation hit the proper dates. And I'm still a bit more work to do, but the city's able to pay their bills, pay their invoices, and get our vendors paid and get our employees, most importantly, paid. So a lot of work went into that. I want to thank, Michelle and her team, Amanda, Bree. They worked, I think, every weekend for the last 3-4 months, making sure all the stuff got done, or portions of the weekends. Marissa also picked up extracurricular duties to support the HR function and hiring function, so they could free up. So a lot of work, but we're getting ready to move on to phase 2. So this is a couple-year process, and we'll continue to work through it. Did have the opportunity to go around to many of our businesses and charity organizations and little league and sports events to show people's kind of around town. And to reiterate what he said, he was pretty impressed with how the messaging came across from our community that, help out, volunteerism, take care of the children. So our public represented very well, and I knew it would, but I didn't realize how well they would represent. So they're leaving here with a whole new perspective. So I just want to thank everybody for making the time, and we still got meetings scheduled for half day tomorrow with other people. So making our rounds, and we'll continue to do more of that. So that's it. Thank you.
No other departments? All right.
Nope.
Moving on to consent calendar. Items considered routine in nature are placed on the consent calendar. They will all be considered and voted upon in one vote as one item unless a council member or member of the public requests individual consideration. 4-1, approval of minutes, special meeting, June 19th, 2023. 4-2, approval of minutes, special meeting, June 27th, 2023.
This one.
4-3, approval of fire purchases of Ford F-150 2024. For Ferrara Type 1 pumper, 2024 Ferrara Type 6 quick attack, DeWalt 18-inch ventilation fans, forcible entry training door, Hearst tools, cutter spreader, ram tools with SB 179. And we are going to go ahead and pull 4-3. Is there anything else that council would like to pull?
Who's pulling? You're pulling it?
I'm not.
I am. I told her we need to put.
Oh, okay.
No. Anyone from the public want to pull
I was gonna
4-3?
put 4-3.
They already pulled it.
4-1 or
Nathan did.
4-2? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve 4-1 and 4-2 as read.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Orth and a second by Councilmember Lyons. Councilmember Orth,
Yes.
Councilmember Lyons.
Yes.
Councilmember Garza.
This is 4-1 and 4-2, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Councilmember Gornick.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Moving on to 4-3. Is
Okay, so the reason I asked the mayor to pull this item, on the agenda, it does talk about purchasing a Ford F-150. We at last minute pulled it out of the staff report that you'll see in your packet. Because when we got the final invoice for that purchase, it went over the $50,000 purchasing threshold by $900. So as of this afternoon, the dealer has come back and they've lowered the invoice price with tax. So it's gonna be under the $50,000 threshold. So as council goes in to approve this expenditure, which is the grant funding received from the state in a budget line item out of SB 179, we would like to include the F-150. Just letting you guys know, because it's not going to be in the staff report in front of you.
Right, which is fine because it was agendized for approval, including the Ford F-150.
What color is it?
It's blue.
Blue?
No, I'm kidding.
I don't know, honestly. Red, I guess.
It's red. It's red. It's a fire.
Black and
You
white.
said blue, and you're somebody in the fire department, so I figured I'm gonna listen to you. Not no more.
Mr. Garza, did you have other questions?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
So on the 2024 pumper engine, I guess I have a couple questions on that. It's gonna replace the truck number 6, right? So I just wanted to know what the plan, what we're gonna do with truck number 6. Is there anybody to answer the question?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
a couple chiefs are here, I think.
Oh,
Yes, we will replace engine 6.
what was that, sir?
We will replace engine 6 with the new pumper.
Yeah, what are we gonna do with the number 6?
Gets retired. That's up to the city what they do with it.
Are they gonna sell it? Cause I mean, it's
Yeah,
almost $1 million.
we'll just, so if it has a value of less than 5,000, which I think this is probably valued at more than $5,000, I'd have to look. Depending on what our surplus, how we sell it will depend on that. But if it's over 5,000, we'll have to go out to a bid process and things of that nature.
The green light.
Yeah, I just, cause I saw it was a lot of money and yeah, I want it, but I just want to make sure we have a plan for truck number 6.
Yeah, that
truck
truck it's been red tagged for ladder issues on it. And then I believe the tank on it's been leaked and repaired.
Had multiple
Okay.
issues.
Corrosion, rusted out frame. It's pretty much shot.
Okay, and in that, it does say delivery after order, it's 700 to 760 days. But
Mhm.
the contract runs out February 10th, 2026. So we're probably not gonna have a lot of time if it takes the whole 760.
You mean the contract for the grant funding?
No, I'm saying just for this pumper engine. I read the,
You're talking the piggybackable contract we're purchasing it on?
Yes.
when we purchase it.
Yeah,
the
so-
delivery is expected 700 to 760 days.
I
but
will
the
defer,
contract ends-
I will defer to legal because I believe it's at the point of purchase. So basically these piggybackable contracts means they've gone out to bid, they've been vetted and they've passed all the litmus tests. So instead of having to go get for us to have to go out to a bid process to have these people give us bids, we can accept that piggybackable contract as they've already been vetted and it's a good deal for the city. So it allows us to get it. But yeah, the build times on all these big trucks is way out there. However, this grant has to be spent down before that, but I've reached out to the Cal OES and to the senator's office, and they're going to extend out the payments because we physically can't make it get here sooner than we receive it. So
Yeah, I'm just saying for like the warranties and stuff, right? And so if it's gonna end February 10th, 2026, we're only gonna have probably what? Half a year? By the time we get the-
the warranty on the truck will last from when we pick it up, like it would.
The warranty will start once we
Delivery.
once we accept the truck.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Now
just
that-
wanted to make sure that one.
My question is the price for that? Does that radios, lights, sirens
Yes,
Oh.
fully equipped.
with the radio?
Yes.
Our radios, okay. Cool.
And there's actually like additional funding, if you look to equip the trucks, they allotted to equip it with.
Hoses, all the
All that.
equipment we need to fight fires.
Cool.
Any other questions from council?
What color is the truck?
Bright red.
God.
Yellow.
I'll open it up to public comment. Seeing no public comment, I'll bring it back to council.
I want a motion.
Motion by
second.
Councilmember
Well, I
Lyons.
want a motion with the type 6 added because it's not on there.
Right, it's on the agenda, but included in your motion.
Yeah,
I have a motion by Councilmember Lyons and a second by Councilmember Garza. Councilmember Lyons,
yes.
Councilmember Garza,
Yes.
Councilmember Ord,
Yes,
Councilmember.
that's
Ford.
right.
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Yay, we made it to the back page. Public hearings, 5-1, public hearing confirming the diagram and assessment of annual levy for fiscal year 2023 to 2024 for landscape lighting maintenance district number 1, LLMD zones 1 through 13, resolution 2023-22. And public facilities maintenance district number 1, PFMD zones 1 through 10, resolution 2023-23. 5-2, public hearing introduction ordinance 2023 -03, amending chapter 3, title 3, section 2 of the Lemoore Municipal Code pertaining to speed limits. 5-3, sorry,
Did you want to note that 5-1 is being continued?
I was gonna do that at the end, but should I do it now? I'm sorry. 5-3, public hearing introduction ordinance 2023-04, amending chapter 7, title 10, section 2 of the Lemoore Municipal Code pertaining to city maintenance districts. Actually, I did that whole part wrong. Usually we take those one at a time.
It's okay, it's okay.
They're all
so-
me. It's okay.
5-1, we are going to continue to the August 1st meeting. So we'll move on to 5-2, and I already read it. So Mr. Reader.
Good evening, council. So 5-2 is going to be amending chapter 6, title 3, section 2 of the Lemoore Municipal Code pertaining to speed limits. What this is going to do is the city is going to conduct speed studies approximately every 5 years. And with these speed studies, it will adjust the speed limits in the city. Currently, our ordinance shows each zone marked out between a 25-mile-an-hour, 30, 35, and so on and so forth. What this ordinance change will do is it will adjust to whenever council accepts the speed study, it will automatically update the speeds in those zones with the acceptance of the speed study, not an update of the ordinance every time. Another reason for this is currently there's a speed study attached to this that you can also see a breakdown of in the staff report, but there will be another one probably in the next year or two that we're going to complete. So it makes it easier for staff to just bring the speed study as opposed to an ordinance change each time. Was there any questions on the resolution or the ordinance?
Any questions from council?
We have to change all those signs, obviously.
Yes, we're gonna have to change those signs. We're looking into something a little more cost effective, but we are gonna have to change the signs.
Well, signs.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and open up to public comment because I know that Mr. Walker has a public comment. Public hearing. Sorry. Open the public hearing.
All right.
What's the cost effective use? Got some black tape?
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. I am in favor of adopting 5-2 because for quality of life, as someone who's lived in Lemoore for almost 20 years and been driving around as a passenger and as a driver, the speed limits are kind of inconsistent throughout town, and I'm very much in favor. However, I did want to clarify, and I might have misread it. So on Lemoore Avenue, heading towards the high school, it is currently the speed limit is 35 when you're going on MIQ. And then when you pass Fast Trip, it becomes 25 up until all the way past the high school, and then it becomes 30 again. And under the current. Yes, thank you. Gotcha. I wanted to clarify if with the speed study, if it's going to stay 30 through there, or if we're going to increase it to 35 to match the other side of the lane where it's heading towards 7-Eleven and McDonald's and all that.
Can you bring up the speed study for me? So this speed study will only reflect zones that don't have basically laws attached to them. So anything residential, anything school zone, those zones are not going to be observed or even looked at to be changed. So anything in the school zone will stay the same.
Yeah.
But the speed study right there, So in that section right there, there is 40, I think, 7 zones. Yeah, 47 zones. These are all the zones within the city that are going to be observed. I don't know exactly which section it was. There was a lot of things just thrown out there. But if that section is on there, it is observed, and I'm not sure if it was getting changed or not. But I hope that answers your question.
There was a table that had, yeah.
So are you looking Lemoore Avenue from G Street to Hanford Ramona Road?
Yeah.
That would be basically from the wrecking bar north to Hanford Ramona Road to the 7-Eleven.
And that one is staying 35.
Okay.
So does council have any questions? Does everybody understand how the speed study, I know it's a little complicated, the speed study works?
I think so.
Everybody's got it?
Yeah, it's the study of speed, right?
You're just on one today.
He is.
Fire.
I'm sorry, Mr. Reader.
Good evening again, still Christopher Bright. Are we discussing changing the speed limits based on the national 80% of, like, we're looking at who's going down the road? We're going 80% of the people are driving this fast, so we might as well make the speed limit this fast. Is that what we're asking?
Yeah, we're basing it off the 85th percentile of people commuting. So we set up when we do the studies. So state law says that you change your speed limit to match what people are doing at the 85 percentile. So this study reflects how many of all the drivers, 85% of them are averaging these speeds.
So there's been lots of studies in developed nations, Europe, America, Canada, the UK, all over the place, that says that people will drive as fast as they feel comfortable. So why don't we look at making our roads, building our roads to whatever speed we want people to drive down? If we want them to drive slow, make them feel tighter. I know we don't have the funds to do it right now. That would obviously be an incremental process, but instead of changing our speeds to match what people are already doing, which is speeding, why don't we just try to make our community force people to drive the way we want them to drive?
Oh, don't worry,
Which would
they're
be safer
doing
for
that.
everyone.
They're doing that. Go drive down some of these new developments. I'm
Yeah.
not comfortable going more than 10 miles an hour in some of these.
Right. My street, I don't feel safe going over 20 because there's children that could dart out, even though I have a very wide street. I have a street wide enough you can drive a 45-foot trailer down. I had a semi truck back down into my driveway off of my street. And I also the other day had a Mustang going 65 down that road or faster. I heard him come from the main road. And
Do you
I
live
turned
on
around.
B Street or?
No, I live on Magnolia.
Okay.
So he was speeding to a 90-degree hard turn.
Yep.
But there's ways that we can design our streets to make people drive closer to what would be safe, as opposed to saying, let's just raise the speed limit to whatever people are already doing, because that's what they're doing. So we might as well let them do what they want. We're a civilized country, right?
And sir, I'm not joking. They do somewhat do that. If you go just past where you live and hang a left into those new homes over there.
I'm aware they're a lot of the reason why there's people speeding down my road. Before that development was built, almost nobody drove down my road.
Yeah.
But I understand people got to have places to live.
Oh, that's right. Because your neighborhood ties into that one right there. That's right.
Yep. People trying to avoid the light for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I was just, instead of the 85th percentile, I just suggest maybe a long-term plan is build our streets more to force people to do what we want them to do, which is safer for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
So a couple things on what he mentioned. So we do, to kind of get a little bit more in depth into the speed study, there is the 85th percentile, as City Manager Nathan stated, but there's also the 10-mile-an-hour pace, which is where we look at the percentage of drivers that fell into that in comparison to the 85th percentile and create a speed based on that. So some of them you'll see that, like the 85th percentile, it does make it go up, but we don't acknowledge it. While others it does. So it just depends on where that 10-mile-an-hour pace fell, as well as the 85th percentile. And then for Magnolia, I mean, I believe that should be a 25-mile-an-hour zone, right? So be safe.
Very wide, very straight.
Be safe.
Mhm.
So when you, when it lists here the findings it says residential density. Right? That finding, for example, let's go Cedar Lane to Bush. Okay. Residential, you're keeping it at 35? Your staff is recommending it at 35?
Correct.
Okay.
And that's because also, again, you're gonna see that 10-mile-an-hour pace. So these can only go up in 5-mile-an-hour increments. So in Cedar Lane, it was 42, which is the high end of that 10-mile-an-hour pace, but we want to bring it back to the middle of that usually. So we're looking at the 35.
But so, you know, the point that was just made here with our last speaker and our council member Lyons, we design the streets in our developments.
Correct.
So in a way, we're contributing to either the safe aspect or the not safe aspect of the street.
Well, and these studies are not done in just straight miles an hour. As you
No,
can see,
I
the
realize that.
findings also acknowledge a safety aspect, which is why some of them do not go up.
Yeah.
But yes,
Well, Steve's not here, but I was just gonna mention this.
he said he was tired and left.
Yeah, I know. But we kind of like talking to him. So. Anyway, good. I'm glad we're doing it.
Was there anything else from council?
Mr. Reed has a public comment.
Anybody else?
Tom Reed, private of Lemoore. Actually, I would be opposed to increasing any of the speed limits in Lemoore. Speeders are going to speed. It doesn't matter what you put on the sign. And my reasoning is this. Lemoore is not a big town. If you go from one side of Lemoore to the other, what are you going to save? A minute? What are you going to do with that extra minute? It's just not worth it. So save ourselves some effort if it's possible with the state requirements. Don't up the speed limit, just leave them the same. Thank you.
So council, if I'm not mistaken, once the speed study's done and the decision's made, if we don't kind of follow the guidance of the state law on the speed study, then we can no longer issue traffic tickets in those zones. So we lose all ability to write a ticket.
Well, let's put up cameras then.
And
Is that correct, Captain?
Yes, and the other thing I would like to mention on Mr. Reed's comment is there is a safety aspect as well into increasing speeds. As you can see with some of the paces do continue to rise, and in lowering those paces, it does create aggravated drivers, which have been shown to create more accidents. So at times, the higher pace does actually create a safer road.
So do
Drive
we-
faster so we can.
So do we reconcile this data with actual data in terms of speeding tickets, traffic violations with our police force?
Can you say that one more time?
In other words, do we validate this data that, you know?
Can you speak in
How
the
many
mic for me?
speeding tickets have we given out? In what areas? Okay.
It's on.
How many speeding tickets have we given out in these areas? That would be very interesting to see if
I
there's
think I can speak to Captain, none right now,
no speeding tickets we give out.
because our speed study is out of date, which is why we're kind of pushing this one through a little quick so that they can begin to.
Well,
But-
at least we're broadcasting this so the public knows they can speed now.
Yes, the question.
Are we
Yeah.
serious? So we can't write tickets in these zones?
In specifics, speeding tickets in those zones, there are other,
But do you get my point about us validating
Oh, my
the
God.
traffic behavior with tickets in these areas? That would be, to your point, the safety issues. That would be to your point of saying we want to increase this or decrease this speed limit because of the number of speeding tickets we've given, or maybe increase it. I don't know.
yeah, I don't know the impact of a speeding ticket onto this study, because the speeding ticket doesn't correlate exactly to safety
Well,
because,
we don't know because nobody's collecting the data.
well, in just a,
Write tickets in it anyways.
You can stop a vehicle, you have probably cost to stop the vehicle, you can still do investigation. Just when you go to court, the judge is going to.
Could you please go to the microphone so everybody can hear you?
So as long as an officer has a probable cause, they can still stop the vehicle. They could still give a warning. They could technically still issue a citation, but when they go to court, the judge is going to ask for the speed survey. As soon as they see that there is not one on record, they're going to dismiss the case. So it'll still slow somebody down. So in order for us to be able to be successful, is we need this to be approved. And so this has gone to our office. The chief has looked at it, myself, the lieutenants, the sergeant that's in charge of the traffic unit. So it's gone through our office. They've done a lot of work. We've had somebody out there when they do the speed survey that is in an unmarked car taking estimations, at least 100 estimations on each one of these streets. So it's been a long time coming, and our officers are anxious to get this passed so that they can resume doing their daily duties.
How long has this been outdated?
I don't know how long it was outdated. I just know that we had to do it. I'm gonna have to defer to Randon.
So it has not been very long. I don't have the specific date for you. There was an issue with the prior engineer that completed the study. They are no longer with our engineering firm. And so there was an issue with that being submitted. So that's why we're trying to get this through.
6 months, a year?
I don't think it's been
It's about a year.
quite,
I didn't hear.
I don't have the exact date for you.
Yes,
Educate me. All right.
a year.
9 months,
Huh?
say possibly 6 to 9 months, because that's about how long we've been.
Yeah, well, that's not bad.
That's not bad. Yeah.
It's not. 10 years.
Violating laws.
So, but kind of back to
Citizens.
Mr. Gornick's comment regarding the speeding tickets. This is looked into as far as the safety aspect, as far as wrecks and things of that sort and accidents. The speeding tickets is kind of a tough data collection to create, only because if we're writing somebody tickets at 35 on a zone that has now changed to 40 or 45, and now that the pace has changed, the data kind of doesn't correlate in that instance.
You don't know unless you collect data and look at it. So that's all I'm saying. I'm not asking you to do it. I was just curious that.
But the safety of mostly what we're looking at is going to be accidents, injuries in those accidents, the severity, which, speaking back to the LRSP that we just recently did for local road and safety plan, the city of Lemoore is pretty good with non-severe accidents.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Were there any other comments?
Good.
I will not bring up roundabouts in this.
What do you say? I will not bring roundabouts into this or.
Is there any more public comment? I think we're running out of public, but just in case.
People have a bedtime.
Are there speed limits on roundabouts?
Doesn't matter. We couldn't write them tickets.
I'm gonna go ahead and close the public hearing and bring it back to council for any final thoughts.
I'm glad we're doing
How fast can we get this done? Like-
So do I have a
I'd like to know
motion?
how fast we can get this done.
It's a process. Yeah, I did.
So once we approve the speeds, then we basically have to go in and order the signs, or see if we can get like digits that go on that match the signs. So
Because there's going to be a second reading and then an approval of the actual speed study. We're going to kind of take a consensus to this, and once we get approval from council, we will be ordering the signs to have them ready to go, so that the moment this is ready to go, the signs are going to be going out.
So at least another 2 weeks.
Yes.
I would recommend we change the name of this to a traffic study rather than a speed study.
Well, traffic study is something different.
The study.
You just need consensus, not a vote?
No, you need a vote. This
Okay.
is an introduction of an ordinance.
So, okay, I have a motion by Councilmember Gornick,
Second.
second by Councilmember Lyons. Councilmember Gornick,
Aye.
Councilmember Lyons,
Yes.
Councilmember Garza,
Yes.
Councilmember Orth,
Yes.
and I vote yes. 5-3, already read it. Go ahead.
Okay, so 5-3 is another ordinance change, and this is going to be, it's a very small one. This is adding another section to the city maintenance district. What it's going to be adding is the possibility of charging for public safety in the future maintenance district. So we're looking to go to community facility districts, and that is going to be able to charge their proportionate share of law enforcement, fire, ambulance, anything that the city currently offers them. They'll pay their proportionate share through property tax, similar to the public facility maintenance districts where they pay for streets and everything else of that sort. So we're just adding another service for future developments.
So Nathan,
Yes.
can we put the cost of the solar streetlights in this?
I love you, Frank.
So we can technically, I believe,
Let me think. So the cost to maintain the streetlights, once they're in, are already in the PFMDs.
But how about the new ones and new
So
development?
the original, no, these districts are to maintain and upkeep what is put in by development. So I don't think we can add fees to purchase things new, but we can factor in solar lights, and the one we're testing has a battery that is about 5 years. They're $250 to replace, so it's about a $50 cost per year to maintain that light over its lifespan. So that's a cost we could put in to the existing PFMDs or into this district. So once they're in, we can maintain them, but we can't put, I don't believe we can, I'll double check, but I don't think we can put in dollars to pre-buy things in these districts.
Yeah,
They're
every
maintenance districts to
New
maintain.
development?
everything for the districts is going to be maintenance and servicing. And nothing new. Now, if there are times where if something goes down and we have to replace it, we can replace it with something of that sort. But I would ask, please don't go around knocking down our streetlights. But the rest of that would be for
Why would you do that?
public works standards so that you can get solar.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from city council? I will open it up for the public hearing.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. Quick question. If this were to be adopted and we were to start collecting this fee, could that fee only be used for that singular purpose? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other public comment?
So just to kind of clarify on that, the districts are for their specific purposes, such as we talked about in, I think, the last council meeting with the PFMDs. This is just adding on another service to that. And that service is only for new developments, nothing already established. So it'll be for everything after.
So like if you're collecting for public safety, you can only go to police, fire, and ambulance. It can't go to like fixing the planner.
Well, you mean like outside of the district?
No,
So that is already included in the maintenance district. So all landscaping, streetscapes, everything within the district that's city maintained is paid for through that. We're just adding the services of public safety as well.
gotcha. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Seeing none, bring it back to council. I will close the public hearing and bring it back to council. It's been a long day.
So move.
I have a motion by Councilmember Gornick and a second by Councilmember Lyons. Councilmember Gornick.
Aye.
Councilmember Lyons.
Aye.
Councilmember Garza.
Aye.
Councilmember Orth.
Aye.
And I vote aye.
Thank you.
Moving on to city council reports and requests. Mr. Garza,
I have none tonight.
Mr. Lyons,
The Commission on Aging, they normally have an Elvis
impersonator.
impersonator. I was gonna say imposter. That was a
Same
different
thing.
word. But they're looking for a new someone. If anybody's got any good ideas for their barbecue that they normally do. That, and I was gonna tell everybody that the fire department's doing the summer play day at the park. But I think the study session went a little long. So I think that's over with now. That's it. I'm done.
Councilmember Orth,
Yeah, I too went to KCAG, and Caltrans is gonna be working on the streetlights at 41 in Grangeville. Sometime this summer, they don't know when. They also updated the 41 Stratford Bridge replacement. It's still gonna happen. They're gonna shut down 41 at that bridge where everyone fishes at for about a year.
Wow.
So if you want to go to the coast, they're saying only now because of the lake, Tiller Lake, you're gonna have to go down 198 to I-5, I-5 to Kettleman City. They say it's gonna add a half an hour. We'll see. You used to be able to go through down Derry to 46, come across, but unless you got an airboat, you're not doing that. So there's a lot of things. We were also told that they are no longer going to widen any freeways moving forward in the state of California unless they were already approved prior to July 1st. So luckily, our 41 between Excelsior and well, I don't know what Elkhorn, it's already been approved, so that will be widened. But anywhere else, it will not be, according to what they said. And they're gonna start next couple weeks on Avenel Cutoff. They are gonna widen Avenel Cutoff from 198 to, I think it's was it I-5?
I think so.
I think it was to I-5. They're gonna widen it and they're talking about possibly putting a K-rail. That's a county project, but they're gonna put I guess it's called a K-rail down the middle, maybe. So that's supposedly supposed to start next couple weeks. But I'm really glad to hear that the service groups came together and one of our cannabis companies came together and came up with some good money for some music downtown. I'm really glad to see that the hard work that we did to get the city people together can flower into something that we can do good. I'm really glad to be a part of that. Thank you, all the city staff. I mean, you guys work hard to the police department been working really, really hard today, and you guys had a lot of work, and looks like you guys were out there early this morning. So good job. Fire, good with the play date. Hopefully you guys get your fire truck in time and get the blue F-150. Thank you.
Mr. Gornick?
Yeah, just two quick items. It was good to see the young kids here asking about the parks and smoking. And what is our policy? Do we have signs in our parks that say?
So the current ordinance is no smoking within 50 feet of a covered portion of a park and or a children's recreational activity or playground. So there's current ordinance is 50 feet.
But so obviously they're still smoking there as long as they hang around the corners or whatever. Why don't we extend it?
Can we
to
fix
all
that?
parks? Yeah. I mean, look in it and extend it to all. I thought,
I would never thought we couldn't do that.
I would just like to see us reinforce that behavior. It's not a big deal. I mean, maybe it is to a smoker, but I don't know how many times a smoker goes to the park, but
Apparently a lot.
Apparently a lot. That bucket was pretty full,
Yeah.
so.
yeah, that was 1 month. Anyway, and then the other thing, South Fork Kings, South Kings Fork, whatever, GSA, the election had to be delayed because somebody forgot to put the public meeting on the agenda, so it's delayed and most of the votes are in, but we're meeting on the 27th and we'll know the outcome of that. And we'll know if it passes, we're good. If it doesn't, we'll see what happens. But the river looks low. The Kings River looks low.
Yeah, I was up at Millerton yesterday and Millerton's coming over the spillway.
Oh, no kidding.
If you get a chance, drive up there. It's pretty impressive. You'll probably never see it again in your lifetime. And out on the lake, there is no beach area at all at Millerton anymore. It's up there. And when you're on the lake looking out to the dam, it looks like it just falls off the world. It's kind of scary to be out on the boat looking at that.
So
I was up there
Kings get
Saturday and it was a lot of water coming over that spillway.
It's crazy.
Wow. Does the Kings get any of that or is that all just going out to the ocean?
I think a majority of that's like 90% of that's going to the ocean. So all our King stuff here is coming out of Pine Flat. And last I heard is Pine Flat or the North Fork is going to run year round this year. And they're saying now that not all the snow may even melt this summer.
Yeah,
There
a lot
might
of
be
it's ice,
residual
so-
snow. There's a lot of ice caps up there now, so that gives a thermal layer. Yeah, so pretty impressive though. If you get a chance to go visit Millerton,
Yeah,
when you get up there and see that dam, you feel real small.
I
Let me
bet.
tell you, Mother Nature's incredible.
Yes.
So,
But my son was insightful. He said, "Hey, Dad, is that dam built strong enough to hold that pressure?" I said, "Well, gee, son, I hope so."
Did you have anything?
that's all
else?
I have. Thank you.
I don't have a whole lot. I just want to say that the bridge thing is probably going to help people get to the coast faster, actually, because I see everybody saying that they're waiting an hour and a half at Kettleman City. I don't know what's going on with that light over there, but it's holding up traffic. So going the long way, you said it's only going to add 30 minutes. It's probably going to save you some time. So
Yeah, take them to the 190 to the 101 is the better way to go.
yeah, for sure. And it sounds like maybe we need to bring a study session or make an agenda item for the smoke-free part, just like double check what we are and what we want to be. And I don't know if it needs to be a study session or an agenda item.
Yeah, right now it's 50 feet from a covered patio. So any of your gazebo type things, 50 feet from any playground. So that's our ordinance on it currently.
So do we have the ability to make the entire park a smoke-free zone?
I believe so. They make.
Sure.
You want to make it an agenda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is there consensus to including the skate
yeah.
park?
Yeah.
Is there consensus to do that?
Yes.
I don't think you need consensus to do an agenda item.
Well,
What does Mary say?
it'd be an ordinance change. So we'd have to do an ordinance change.
She said you
Gives
need,
you an idea of,
she said yes.
are we
so-
wasting time or not wasting?
There you go.
There you go.
Mary said get consensus.
Yes, she did.
So it looks like we have it.
We have it.
Okay, study session.
So agenda.
Agenda,
No.
agenda,
Agenda
item,
item.
agenda item.
Just
We're
bring
not
an agenda
studying
item.
this.
I mean, unless you guys want to look at it further.
Well, if I bring an agenda item, it would be
Yes
to
or no?
make all the public facilities smoke free.
Yeah.
Correct.
Which will be done in the form of how we're kind of doing this ordinance change up. So we have to physically change our ordinance. So we have to post it, do a first reading, a second reading, wait 30 days. We can absolutely do that, but that'll be the process I'll be bringing to you. It'll be an ordinance change.
Okay, let's do
Fair
it.
enough?
So real quick, is there any other aspects that we might want to look at, or is that it? Because if it's going to cost all that, then
Well, if you're gonna discuss what you want in an ordinance, it should come back as an agenda item for direction.
okay.
Needs to be a study session.
Yeah, because to have that discussion now, we want to make sure everybody that's interested in the discussion gets to be part of the
Yeah.
discussion, and you had the major portion of the audience leave
Yeah.
that brought this item up.
I just didn't want to go ahead with an item if we may want to change it.
Well,
So-
when you bring
Yeah,
a
I'll bring it
first
back.
reading of an ordinance, you can make revisions
Gotcha.
and then bring it back. or
Okay.
Introduction, I should say, and if first readings are still required.
This was like a Steve thing.
Madam Mayor, could I recommend that you reach out to that group and
Yes.
when we have it and tell them to come for.
Oh, I'm sure they'll be here.
Put
Yeah,
They don't know what's coming, they won't be here.
they'll know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
it on the
But yes,
agenda.
I will reach out to them.
Even better.
So with that,
Want to
we're
close session?
gonna adjourn. To
So-
close
Closed
session.
sessions.